Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mikes on TalkSport. There's been a breach of security at the headquarters of the independent Quizmasters, and the questions for the Porky Quiz have mysteriously disappeared. It was due to be on the Open, but it's been postponed until later on in the weekend so we can figure out precisely what has happened. Meanwhile, we'll be keeping you up to date with a host of special guests, including racing driver Connor Daly. He's going to tell us what he makes of Lewis Hamilton and his latest problems with the British Grand Prix. And, of course, celebrity Arsenal fan Sophie Nicolau is going to be joining us from Los Angeles, where she's going to tell us what she makes of all the shenanigans in the transfer market so far, and also how Arsenal are doing on their pre-season tour. 08717 22 3344. We will have to talk about the Rooney goal, of course, but also coming up on the show, it is listography as well. So send your suggestions in right now at the Two Mikes on Twitter, or find our Facebook page and put them up there as well. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And it is the end of the week. And
well, you say that, but I thought there was no end of the week.
Well, it's no end of the week, but it's the end of the week for more regulated people who have regulated lives.
Monday to Friday.
That's right, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
yes, you could say that.
So good luck to them.
But I said this time last week that it was the end of the week, and you said that I was wrong to say that.
Well, that's because we were working Friday, Saturday, Sunday last week. This week we're working Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday,
Saturday and Sunday, that's right.
In fact, tomorrow we're going to be down at the O2.
Down at the O2.
Which will be very exciting.
Tomorrow being
Star
Saturday.
Sixes, yes.
Yes, that's right, we are.
Tomorrow is Saturday.
Yeah.
It is now Friday.
Yeah, pretty looking forward to that, I'm telling you. That's going to be a great day out.
It will be.
Incredibly distinguished superstar footballers going to be there, and we're going to be mixing with them.
Yes.
Now, the first issue we have to sort out tonight.
Yeah.
Who has nobbled the Quizmasters?
Yeah, well, indeed. I mean, there seems to be a bit of confusion. Tell us what we know so far.
What we know so far is that I prepared in my normal, immaculate fashion.
Yeah.
For the quiz.
Yes.
And I have been researching and studying even more knowledge.
And the quiz was on the Open, right?
The Open. Even more knowledge on the Open than I already had in my head. Because, I mean, having been the regular TalkSport correspondent to a number of Open golf tournaments, I am almost, I suppose, the company expert on what it's all about.
Are you?
Now, all of a sudden, I
get
a call this morning to say the quiz is off. And some real, balderdash story about the guy who claims to be the head of the independent Quizmaster team being taken ill and therefore can't corroborate the questions.
I see.
Well,
well, that's possible, isn't it? I mean,
I've never come across the independent Quizmasters. I'm not even sure they exist.
People do become ill.
And so where did this all come from then? When were you notified?
I was not notified except by you. You were the one that told me. So you got the call initially in the first instance. I suppose that was the right thing to do because it meant that you wouldn't be working overly hard because we had a very busy day coming up yesterday. So I suppose it was good of them to let you know so you didn't waste any more time on doing it, knowing that you would come in and there wouldn't actually be any questions.
Acquiring knowledge to me is never a waste of time.
Isn't it?
It is something which I see as a natural development within the human brain.
It's an ongoing scenario.
To gain knowledge all the time.
Right.
However, I had enough knowledge to have been very, very confident I would have got an 8 or 9 out of 10 for the Open
Well, we'll never know.
quiz. Well, no, but this is the point. That's why I think that some nobbling's been going on, because everybody knows I would have got a great score tonight, and then all of a sudden, there isn't going to be a quiz. It seems to me like there's a bit of gerrymandering going on here before the quiz has even taken place.
Well, I'll tell you what, my understanding is, because I have been in touch with the independent Quizmasters since I've been in here, and my understanding is that things will have returned to normal in 24 to 48 hours.
Right.
And the suggestion is that the Porky Quiz, uncharacteristically as it sounds, will take place on Sunday when we are doing the warm-up show.
Suits me.
So you're okay with that?
Well, of course I'm all right with that. I've got enough knowledge already to embarrass you with the size of my score.
Doesn't embarrass me.
But, if you want to push it on, that's a very strange situation. Anyway, we'll return to that on Sunday.
Well, return to it on Sunday, and, of course, we will be here, I believe, from 11 until 2 on Sunday.
On Sunday?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
And how long are we around on Saturday?
Saturday, also 11 till 2.
11 till 2, that's excellent, good. Now, you did mention the Rooney goal.
Well, I mentioned the goal.
But, I mean, look, nobody can blame me for saying...
It doesn't look that great, to be honest.
Well, it's a fabulous goal.
It's not a fabulous goal. It's an okay goal.
No.
Do you know who he scored it against?
Yeah, Tanzania.
What's the name of the team?
Hey?
Do you know what the name of the team
No,
is?
I don't care.
What do you mean don't care?
Well, why should I care?
Well, don't you think it's important?
No, it's a team in Tanzania. Tanzania is a thriving country in East Africa.
Yeah.
And therefore, I regard the team that he's playing against as a capable bunch of professional footballers.
I see. I'm not sure you'd be right about that. It's a team called Gor Mahia.
That's right, Gourmet, yeah.
Gor Mahia.
Yeah.
Not as in gourmet, as in Gormahia.
Yes.
And Everton was so dominant in the game,
Yes.
they came away with a massive 2-1 victory.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Well, that's pretty awful, isn't it?
No, it's a pre-season friendly.
Yeah, in Tanzania.
Yes. That's because they have business connections in Tanzania,
Uh-huh.
and as you well know, when teams have overseas investors, they generally speaking, as a matter of courtesy and to bond the business deal, go to the country of origin of the investor, and they play football matches against their national or regional teams.
I see. Gor Mahia is actually a Kenyan team, I believe,
Gourmet
based in Nairobi.
in Nairobi, yes,
Yeah.
that's right. But it was a kind of African
Oh,
countries
look,
tournament.
They've won the Kenyan Premier League a record 15 times.
Well, that's pretty good.
2 more than their arch rivals, AFC Leopards.
That's right, yeah. So why are you mocking the structure of football in Africa?
I'm not-
Why
I'm
has
not mocking it.
this become your latest little bugbear?
No, all I'm saying
Why do you
is-
think it's
all I'm
right to
saying
put
is-
people down in countries which are
All I'm
developing
saying is-
countries
all I'm saying is
who
I
don't
think,
have as sophisticated
Yeah.
a football system as we have?
all I'm saying is I don't think scoring a goal against a team like this should be anything to go crazy about, that's all.
I think that's pathetic.
Do you? Do you
To
know where they
mock-
play their home games?
To on their home ground.
The Nairobi City Stadium.
That's right, Nairobi City. And you feel it's happy and you're safe to just mock and deride
I'm just saying, I don't think you should get too carried away.
players in teams who, are striving to do their best, to pursue excellence, as anybody with the right mind would do. And all you want to do is put them down and call them rank amateurs.
Not at all.
Hopeless footballers.
That's not what I said. When did I use those words?
Inadequate to play against
When did I use those words?
an English professional football team from the Premier
No,
League.
I didn't say any
That's
of
your
that.
drift, isn't it?
No, I didn't say
That's
any of
your
that.
drift.
What I said was Everton beating them by 2-1 is hardly a massive margin of victory. And also, it's a bit ridiculous to get carried away just because old grandpa Wayne Rooney, the answer to all of Everton's problems, according to you, has scored a goal against them from outside the penalty box.
You are a louse.
Big deal. Is all I'm saying.
What a piece
Big deal.
What a piece of work you
Yeah.
are. The Rooney goal was par excellence.
Yeah.
It showed that when...
He got substituted at half-time as well, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. It shows that when a manager puts his faith in you, when a manager tells you that you are a record-breaking footballer in England, you still have an awful lot to offer. When a manager says, you're amongst my plans for next season, then the player concerned, in this case Wayne Rooney, starts to believe in himself again, and his natural talent is then freed from the stresses and the strains of lack of confidence and lack of support from those around you.
Okay. Did you know that they had an English coach?
Yes.
Do you know his name?
The English coach.
The English coach for the African team that you so are in favour of.
No,
protecting.
I'm not so in favour. I'm saying that you should not deride them.
I'm not deriding them.
Whoever the coach is, it's immaterial.
Dylan
it's
Kerr.
irrelevant.
Do you know who that is?
Dylan, yeah.
Kerr.
Yeah.
K-E-R-R. Dylan Kerr.
K what?
K-E-R-R.
Yeah,
Dylan
Kerr. Yeah, like Deborah Kerr. That's right, yeah.
No, yeah, something like that.
that's
that was
right.
Deborah Carr, wasn't it? You pronounced it Carr.
Was it? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. But anyway, look, I'm getting heartily sick of you trying to
I'm just saying, I don't know if you get so excited about a goal scored by Wayne Rooney
Yeah.
in a game which meant very little against a team that aren't very good.
But it was the first one in an Everton shirt for 13 years. So I do honestly think that is something which every Everton fan, and every England fan actually, and every Manchester United fan maybe, is entitled to take it 2 paces back and say, wow, that was something.
Yes.
It was.
Okay. Well, I mean, certainly they are describing Wayne Rooney mania taking a grip of Dar es Salaam.
That's right.
In Tanzania at the National Stadium.
Yeah.
35,000 crowd.
Yeah.
The goal was even cheered by fans of the opposing team, with one dressed in a Manchester United shirt.
Well, that's because they've seen something special, haven't they?
And he invaded the pitch.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And he gave Rooney a hug.
That's right, yeah. Well, you can bet your
Well,
life.
that's a bit dangerous, isn't
You
it?
can bet your life there's quite a few Manchester United fans out in the East African countries because they will have a limited ability to go and see football matches of any quality where they come from. So they watch most of it on TV. And most of that comes from Europe, and the majority of that comes from England.
Yeah.
And that's the way to explain it all.
Yes. Absolutely right. Well, I'm very happy for you.
Yes.
And I'm sure that Wayne Rooney will score many more goals like that but possibly not in the Premier League. We shall
Yeah.
see. We shall see. Now, we've got loads coming up. We're going to talk to Connor Daly, who's a GP2 driver. He's the son of former Formula 1 driver Derek Daly.
That's it.
Because we're going to find out why Lewis Hamilton is still the favourite for the British Grand Prix, despite all the shenanigans that have been going on the last couple of days.
Yes.
He's been taking a hell of a shellacking.
He
We're
certainly
going to
has.
talk to Sophie Nicolau as well. We're going to have listography. So what you've got to do is hashtag it listography. Send us some ideas, because we're going to be talking about our 3 favourite things or our 3 least favourite things. We've done it a lot in the past. We need some new suggestions, please. Tweet it at the 2 Mics or send it to our Facebook page, which is the 2 Mics. This is TalkSport. G. O'Hara has tweeted in. He says, have you got time to talk about the Mayweather-McGregor fight build-up? Well, we'll probably get to it at some point, but we haven't really
it's all
talked
a
about
farce
it up
to
to now.
me. It's a complete and utter farce. McGregor, the Irish guys, using all the Irish blarney to try and wind up Mayweather. He's succeeding minutely on the odd occasion. But it's all a complete and utter farce. We all know it is.
Well, I think so. I think it's all a bit of a gimmick.
Yeah.
Here's one from Bob in Sheffield. MG, why not do a crossword to see how Porky's word power helps him solve the clues?
Yeah, I'm not good at crosswords.
I don't know. What about? Would you want to be physically fill in a crossword?
No.
I've never been particularly interested in crosswords.
No, neither. I'm not
to be
interested in crosswords. I'm not particularly good at crosswords. Complete waste of time. Anybody who's an expert in crosswords is a dullard. And
that's a bit harsh.
No.
That's a bit harsh. My father used to like doing the Times crossword.
Yeah, but
which I always considered to be quite intellectually challenging.
Yes, I agree, but he could do it quite quickly. What I'm saying is, some dullard who sits around for 3 hours and thinks that he can prove he's the brightest bloke in the room just because he can do the Times crossword is a dullard and a half-baked.
I see. You know Dave Levine behind the glass does a lot of crosswords.
Does he? Yeah, well, that proves my point, doesn't it?
That's very harsh.
It's a bit harsh.
Now, how about this one from Eddie? He says, just heard that Sophie's on. That's Sophie Nicolau. What a bonus. Hoping Walcott, Oxlade, Chamberlain and Ramsey go for their playing to rule last season.
She might be able to give us some insight on the future of Olivier Giroud.
Yes, because Everton's still after him.
Well, I think so, but, Mr. Koeman works in mysterious ways.
He does.
Normally gets the person that he wants. He's going to get Sigurdsson. There's no doubt about that. That's why Sigurdsson has not gone.
Are you sure
on
about
tour.
that?
Yeah, of course I'm sure.
40 million has been rejected.
Yeah, well...
So they're going to have to come up with about 50.
No, it'll end up as about 42.5 or something like that. That's the way it normally works, and I think that's what the plan is. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
I'm not worried about it. But, I mean, how many more players are Everton going to sign? How much more money is there in the transfer kitty?
Well, I can't answer that because I'm not in charge of the transfer policy at Everton, but I have to say, whoever it is has done a damned fine job so far.
I'd have to say, I mean, I have said this in the past, reluctant as I am to give you any kind of credit at all for anything. Everton seems to have done rather better than everybody else.
Yes.
Rather showing everybody up. I mean, I know there's still plenty of time.
Yeah.
But they seem to have shown everybody up as to how to actually assemble what appears to be the makings of a team.
Yes, I totally
agree. Rather than just sort of signing one player here, one player there. They've obviously had a strategy.
Yeah, no,
They've gone out there and actually got, I
totally agree.
Got sorted out.
Well, it's a sign of intent. And remember, Everton's first 6 games are horrendously tough.
Yeah.
Away at Chelsea, away at Manchester City. Home to Manchester United, I think. I think it's home, is it? Or is it away? No, it's away.
I'm not sure.
It's away to Manchester City, away to Chelsea, away to Manchester United, home to Spurs. Yeah. Stoke on the opening day. Bournemouth, I think.
When is the City game? Because you said there might be a possibility.
The City game is on a Monday night.
Is it?
It's on the second Monday of the season. So kick-off against Stoke on the 13th. Then Everton's next game is on the 20... must be the 22nd.
Must
13th, 17th.
Well, the 23rd, I think, is the Wednesday.
Yeah, it's the 22nd.
So that's a Tuesday, then?
No, it's a Monday, 21st.
Is it?
Well, hang on. If Saturday's the 13th, that means Saturday's the 20th.
Yeah.
21, 22. Monday must be the 22nd.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm certain.
I can check it on the calendar if you like.
Check it on the calendar, but I'm sure that's right.
I don't think it is.
And it's an 8 o'clock kick-off at the Etihad, and I have ambitions to get up there and see that game.
Really?
I've never been to the Etihad.
No, me neither.
No.
The 21st is indeed the Monday. The 22nd is the Tuesday.
No, can't be.
It is.
How can 21st be the...
Hey?
Well, what's a kick-off day? It's the 13th, Saturday the 13th.
Saturday the 13th. No, it's Sunday the 13th. Saturday the 12th.
Saturday the 12th.
Yeah.
That's right, Saturday the 12th. That's right. 12th,
That's why
19,
you're a day out.
20, 20. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So absolutely the 23rd is indeed a Wednesday. The reason I know that is because I'm going on holiday and that's the day I'm coming back.
Oh, I know, yeah, I know.
Why do you sound so disappointed?
The fateful day.
You know, I'm allowed to go on holiday, you know.
Yeah, okay.
I have children and people, you know, who do rely on me to take them away somewhere exciting.
And you're going to Greece, yes?
I'm not telling you where I'm going.
Oh, okay.
Why do I have to tell people where I'm going all the time?
Well, I thought you were thinking about going to Greece.
I'm not telling you where I'm going, because you might turn up again.
Now, what do you think about this amazing row, which has been started by Ms. Kirsty Allsop?
Oh, yeah.
Saying that it's disgusting to have your washing machine in the kitchen, and that if anybody in America came to an English house and was staying in an English house where the washing machine was in the kitchen, they would immediately leave.
Yes.
On the grounds that it's repulsively unhygienic.
I think that she's been taken slightly out of context. I saw a tweet from her, which I can't quote at you because it involves some quite bad language.
Yes.
But she basically had a go at everyone for taking it all so seriously.
Yes.
She was like, you know, what is wrong with you people? All I said was, if you've got room to put your washing machine somewhere else than the kitchen, then you shouldn't put it there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's incredibly pompous, isn't it? It shows out of touch is that how many people have got room in their house to put the washing machine anywhere else but the kitchen?
Well, I don't know.
Hey?
Some people have got room to put it in the bathroom. Some people have got room to put it in a utility room.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't got a utility room. I mean, you're the guy that's got the penthouse.
Yeah, well, I haven't got a utility room.
So yours is in the kitchen.
Mine's in the kitchen, yeah.
Yeah, well, in both places?
In both places.
And what about in the other place that we don't talk about?
It's in the kitchen.
Orwell Key.
It's in the kitchen.
It's all in the kitchen.
It's all in the kitchen, yeah. Now then, however, there are people... there are people in my family who do actually...
I mean, they've got big houses. I don't remember seeing, when I was at your sister's very lavish, appointed country mansion in Bournemouth.
Yes.
I don't remember seeing a washing machine in the kitchen.
No, there wasn't.
Why?
Well, she's got two kitchens, and you only went in one of them.
She got two kitchens?
Two kitchens,
Why?
yeah. Well, because she's also a home economist, so she uses one professionally and
that's
uses
a work
one
space.
domestically.
That's
Well,
different.
it's still a kitchen.
Is that like Ed Miliband?
Yeah, I suppose
When he had one for the nanny.
That's right, yeah.
And one for himself.
And secondly, she does have a fully fitted utility room.
There you go.
With a huge
so when you
walk-in
say
fridge.
What sort of people have got space for putting a washing machine in somewhere other than the kitchen?
Yes.
Obviously, your sister's one of them.
Yeah, but most normal people don't. I mean, did you have a washing machine at all in America?
In America? I don't think I did, actually.
No, I didn't. I didn't have a washing machine. I never had a washing machine.
Although I might have done in the apartment that I finally bought.
Yeah.
I think there might have been. No, actually, I don't think there was.
No. I think...
Do you know what? We had a basement.
Yeah.
And there was a washing machine which was sort of out in the... So it was outside of the actual living space.
Yes.
In the basement.
Yes. Well, in Washington, D.C., when I lived on the same road as the President of the United States of America...
Yeah, do you know, I've seen pictures of the address in Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yes.
And it looks pretty shabby.
No, it's not. Somebody sent you a picture of the wrong street,
It looked like the Capitol Hill end of Pennsylvania Avenue.
No, honest to God, it
wasn't. Which was, I'm telling you, a pretty rough area.
No, nowhere near the Capitol. You didn't even go as far up as the Canadian Embassy, which is that magnificent building, on the Mall there.
I don't know.
Didn't go anywhere up there. It was right at the... It was opposite the old post office, which is literally just around the corner from the White House.
Okay.
So
you keep telling people.
But
I
had a utility room in there, and there might have been a washing machine in it, but how would I know? Because I sent all my clothes out to be washed there.
Well, you didn't know if you had a washing machine?
No.
How can you not know?
Well, because I never looked. I had a concierge downstairs who collected all my laundry, sent it away to get clean, and then brought it back and hung it up and everything.
No wonder the paper went bankrupt.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, I was worth it. You know what I mean?
But you say that. But on the other hand, now that you've got a washing machine in the kitchen, which you now know exists, you don't use it now either, do you?
Well, I don't, but my housekeeper does.
Your housekeeper washes everything for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Isn't that a bit embarrassing?
No, why should it be?
Well, why should it be?
No.
Well, because you're a grown man. You should do your own washing.
No, rubbish. She looks after everything for me, and it's great. Now, I have come across a new problem for the suburbs.
The suburbs?
I was the first to warn about the urban fox.
Yes.
Leading to the destruction of...
I'm not sure you were the first to warn about it.
Society,
because funny enough, I did a radio show years ago
Yeah.
in which I suggested going out on a horse and hunting them.
Yeah.
With a radio sort of monitor type thing strapped to my back so I could do a radio show while out shooting the foxes.
Well, you can't actually do that.
No, I know that you can't do it.
Because
it was an idea.
You would need an aerial on your head, which would have to keep turning to pick up the signal from your satellite dish.
I'm sure that could be done.
Yeah, well, it can't, honestly.
I'm sure it could be done.
No, it can't. You could use it on a mobile phone, which would be easier.
Yeah.
Now, the new problems with the urban landscape are twofold.
Go on.
Firstly, deer.
Deer
are coming closer and closer into gardens.
Just a term of
No, and you will find them nibbling your hollyhocks at the end of your garden.
That's what I don't like.
No, exactly.
Well, you won't have to worry about that. You haven't got a garden. or indeed hollyhocks.
Well, I have got a garden, but deer don't tend to congregate.
You haven't got a garden.
7 floors up, you know what I mean?
No, you've got a roof garden.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And there's the deer have suddenly got a ladder and some crampons.
Yeah.
They're not coming up there.
That's what I just told you. But they are literally encroaching on the suburbs now. And if the house has been pushed out into the green belt. If your house is the last in the road and your garden just goes onto a meadow or, onto the countryside, you will now get deer in the garden because they see gardens as a great source of food.
The problem with deer as well is that they bring ticks with them.
They do.
And deer ticks, of course, as we know, carry Lyme disease.
And Lyme disease is terrible.
And Lyme disease can paralyse you.
So
it can be fatal, actually, for some people.
I think you're going to find that you will be allowed to shoot the deer because they do carry disease. You're absolutely right.
If you remember, I was also telling you a story from a couple of weeks ago where there are people down in the West Country running a sort of wildlife trust who are keen to reintroduce certain types of animals into the sort of British habitat.
These crazy people, including wolves.
Well, you say they're crazy, but
wolves
actually,
attack people.
One of the reasons they say that they want to reintroduce wolves into the Scottish sort of lowlands and highlands is that they will control properly the deer population. Yeah. Because they say what you're saying, which is the deer population is getting out of control. And one of the ways to cull it humanely, if you like, is to reintroduce wolves.
Well, that's not a very humane way to bring down a deer. A wolf going for its throat.
Well, it's better than shooting them, isn't it?
No, it's not. You shoot an animal, you shoot it, and it's a clean kill.
Well, you
but
don't
to tear
always.
Its throat out is not.
Well, but that's the way of nature.
Well, I don't like the way of nature.
You don't
now,
like it.
the other one, which has only just come to the attention of the authorities. And I tipped them off about it only this week. The wild boar.
The wild boar?
The wild boar.
I saw a picture of a wild boar wandering through some local village. You see that one?
Well, the last one spotted was in Gloucester city centre.
No, I mean, there was one in the papers yesterday or today.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sure of it.
A wild boar has come in from the Forest of Dean, and it is now roaming around the streets of Gloucester. Nobody knows quite where it goes during the day.
This is the same one we're talking about, is it?
Well, it could be, could be.
Well, no, I'm saying, are you looking at the picture of it?
No, I'm not looking at a picture of anything. I'm looking at my journals here, and I'm telling you, this is the latest report that's come in.
Right.
I have electronic journals as well as written journals.
Electronic journals?
Yes.
That's a new one.
And
see, look, there's a picture here. From yesterday, a wild boar having a night out in the city centre. There he is.
Yes, well, that could be the same one then.
Must be.
In a different part of town. Hundreds of wild boar...
Different part of town?
Yeah, hundreds of wild boar live in the Forest of Dean, on the other side of the River Severn to Gloucester, and about 15 miles from Gloucester. They're known to attack dogs, children, and even cars.
Right.
Walkers have reported frightening confrontations with them, especially in the breeding season.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Gloucester residents are certain their nocturnal visitor is no domestic pig. Jacqueline Davis wrote on Facebook, "Whatever it is, it's got 4 legs and a mouth that can snap your arm. It's a boar."
Well, it certainly looks like a boar, and they're not sure whether it's escaped from an abertoir or whether, in fact, it's somebody's pet.
Yeah. Let me tell you this.
It's amazing I've been able to get the same report.
Yeah, well, it might have been released after I first saw it this afternoon.
Yeah.
Now, it says that these are not just as dangerous as pigs.
Yeah.
They are so dangerous they can disembowel you with their horns. They're very dangerous.
Yeah, they haven't disemboweled anyone. This guy is just walking around the streets of Gloucester.
No.
I imagine there's a lot more dangerous things walking around the streets of Gloucester of a Friday night.
They are very, very dangerous, OK?
Yes, OK.
And somebody wants to ship them all out to the Channel Islands to get rid of them all.
Put them on the Channel Islands?
Yeah, Channel Islands, yeah.
What would Matt Letizia have to say about that?
Yeah, well, exactly.
This is Talk Sport. This is the Two Mics. We are on Talk Sport, and of course there will be a podcast coming up a little bit later on. Big weekend as well for us. I mean, Wimbledon's on. There is the British Grand Prix. We're going to be doing the warm-up on Saturday and Sunday. Tomorrow, we're doing it from the O2 with the Star Sixes and a whole host of what you might call legendary football players.
Oh, they are legends.
Former legends, I suppose, or former football players.
Well, no, current legends who were former stars.
Former stars. Ivan says this: "My nan gets wild boar in her garden, digging up the plants and overturning the bin most weeks in the Forest of Dean."
Yeah.
It's a bit of a nuisance.
Yeah, well, it's a bit more than a nuisance if the boar then disembowels your nan, because that's how dangerous they can be. So you've got to keep an eye on that, pal.
William says, "The glorious 12th, start of the grouse shooting season. Not so glorious for the grouse, though."
Not so glorious for the grouse at all. It says here, Talk Porky and Mike, that means me and you, have we ever had our IQs measured by an educational psychologist?
No.
Have you ever been invited to sit a Mensa test? Well, people in Mensa are just a bunch of Burks. You know,
that's a bit harsh.
Well, it is. They fancy having a club that you can only join if you're considered to be super bright by the other members of the club.
Have you ever met anyone who has a Mensa card?
I've met the head of Mensa.
Have you?
I interviewed him once.
Did you?
And he said clever things during the interview, like...
like what?
A Mensa convention is where the eggheads get laid. Ha, 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 ha.
Oh, dear.
He thought that was very funny.
He thought that was funny?
Yeah, he thought it was very funny.
Well, obviously, being very intelligent, he didn't have a sense of humour.
No, he didn't have a sense of humour at all.
I once knew someone who produced a Mensa card when I was out for dinner with her.
Oh, really?
Right?
So look at this.
She was and said, look how bright I am. I'm in Mensa.
Yeah.
And she wasn't that bright.
No. Most people I've met in Mensa...
She was having dinner with me for a start.
They're just self-deluded.
Yeah.
I mean, they just, we all get together because we're super bright. So they walk around thinking they're some kind of superior being on Earth.
Right.
When in fact they're mostly dense and dim. Because anybody who goes around with this glow about them because they think they're super bright, much brighter than everybody else, is in fact lost all social graces and doesn't deserve to be a member of society.
Well, exactly.
So forget it.
And also, if you have to advertise how intelligent you are by having a card which tells people, then it doesn't really say very much for your conversational skills.
I mean, what are you supposed to do? Fall off your chair and say, oh, my God, look who I'm in the company of, you know?
Yeah.
And if these people in Mensa are so bright, then I'd like to ask this question. How come they don't fill senior positions in government, industry...
well, maybe they do, but they just don't boast about it.
The academic institutions, universities, no, they don't. They're just a bunch of self-serving dumbos.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's probably a bit of a generalisation.
No, it's not.
How about this for a question? Steve the cabbie, how many quizmasters does it take to set an open golf quiz?
Well, apparently more than one, but you know more about the quizmasters than I do. I've never yet met them.
No, the joke is 4.
4?
4.
Oh, 4. I got it for golf. 4, yeah.
F-O-R-E.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And on the subject of listography, Adam suggests the 3 most memorable conversations you've ever had.
Yes, that could be a good one.
I can't remember any good conversations.
Yeah, well, sometimes conversations take place late at night and they are not memorable.
Yeah.
But certainly, please send us your ideas for listography. And what listography is to the uneducated is...
the untutored.
You've got to nominate 3 of something that we can talk about in the space of about 10 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
And what was the one last week? It was very good. 3 great parties we've been to.
I think it was 3 great
3
parties. 3
best parties we've been to.
That was
That's
good.
right.
So we've done that one.
Yeah.
Scott says this, a Mensa test, MG will be okay, but Porky would end up sectioned in Broadmoor.
I think not.
And then some Jack from Jacob, who says, wild boar disemboweling people with horns.
Yeah.
Have you been drinking again, Porky?
No, I haven't been drinking. I wish I had, but maybe a bladderation tomorrow because it's Friday and it's Fish and Chips Day.
Fish and Chips, are you going to pop down to Wetherspoons?
Well, we'll see. I mean...
Are you going down to the coast, to Gosport?
Do you know that Wetherspoons are opening the biggest pub in Britain next Tuesday?
I did know that, yes, down in Margate, isn't it?
In Margate, I've seen a picture of it.
Have you been to Margate before?
No, I don't think I have. Or I might have been, because I gave I made the mistake once of agreeing to go and do the crucial speech at a St George's Day lunch.
When you say the crucial speech, how many speeches are there?
There were 2 or 3 minor speeches, and I gave what you'd call the the major address,
the crescendo.
The crescendo, that's right, and
the finale.
Yeah, and it was one of those dreadful events I've ever been to, and it might have been in Margate. Margate's on the coast. If it's got pebble beaches, then it was probably the place I went to. Yeah.
Well, there's Margate, there's Ramsgate.
No, it wasn't Ramsgate. I think it was Margate.
Yeah,
but
it's sort of a Severn estuary type resort, isn't it? Isn't it a kind of Severn estuary type resort?
Well, it's nowhere near the Severn. The Severn's in the West Country.
Not Severn. Sorry, Thames estuary.
Thames estuary. No, it's actually on the coast. It's on the south coast.
Yeah, but what I mean is by where the Thames comes out.
No, it's not.
No?
It's on the south coast. I mean, it's not on the Thames
estuary. It's on
the
east coast, isn't it?
North, south. No, it's on the south. It's on the east part of the south coast.
It's north of. Well, it's on the east coast. It's north of Dover.
Is it north of Dover?
Of course it is.
Oh, well, I haven't been there then. The place I went to was down near, that place where all the old people live.
You sure you go to, like, New Haven?
No.
Eastbourne?
Eastbourne. It was near Eastbourne.
You went to... Yeah, well, that's not where Margate is.
Okay. Well,
Margate's in Kent.
Margate's in Kent, okay. So Margate, anyway, so it's not Margate's a nice place, and they're opening this big Wetherspoons.
Uh-huh.
The place I went to, I gave this St George's Day speech, and it was appalling.
Was it?
It was
the speech was bad?
No, the speech was the best thing about it.
Speech? What did your speech say?
Oh, about how, you can be proud of your country and all that. But I had to tone down all the sort of patriotic stuff because the room was full of men only.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a men only do, and I wouldn't have gone if I'd known it was a men only do.
Right.
I don't like them.
No.
They're too macho and they're too... And
I'll tell you what I discovered the other day.
Men are abusive to women when they're in all male sort of congregations,
Well, why is that?
I felt
that shouldn't be the case.
Well, it was, and I felt very uncomfortable about it, and I told the guys I wasn't doing it again.
I'll tell you what I found the other day, actually.
Yeah.
I was out and about in town, and it was around about sort of after work time, and there was a lot of people, because there's a lot of bars around this area where people congregate after work, and they stand outside and they smoke and all the rest of it. I went to this very nearby bar where we go quite a lot, because I was walking past it.
Right.
And everybody standing outside was a bloke. There were no women at all, and I found it really weird.
Yeah, it is
I
weird.
thought, isn't that strange? I mean, I don't know whether it was just a one-off, but it was all groups of men standing, all quite young, in their sort of 20s and 30s, all just standing around drinking.
Well, I can't explain that.
No, I
can't. No,
I can't either. It's not like there's a new thing going on.
I don't like all male things. I don't know why. I feel uncomfortable in them, so I won't be doing that again. Although you can have a St George's Day celebration without feeling embarrassed about it, but why not just make it, couples and all that kind of stuff, which I think is great.
Why would it have to be all male just because it's about St George?
No idea. That's why I objected to it. But then again, I wouldn't I?
Well, I suppose so. How about this from Dave? He says, "Hi guys, could you please give a quick shout out to Ewan? He's switching jobs next week. You introduced me to your show. Good luck, Ewan," he says.
Okay.
I say Ewan, it's Eoin.
And do we know which job he's switching to?
It hasn't said that.
Oh, it hasn't said that. Okay.
No.
Now then, I think it's about time I updated the audience on my evening report, my nightly report, on how the country will close down and all the lights will go out if this mad plan of yours to switch to all electric cars goes ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Right, here's the latest report.
Are you going to keep banging on about this until such time as the Earth becomes round?
No, I'm going to keep reporting on the salient facts, and this is the latest one.
Uh-huh.
Britain would need to build the equivalent of 5 Hinkley Point nuclear reactors by the middle of the century to power the soaring number of electric cars the national grid has warned.
Oh, yeah.
There could be up to 9 million electric vehicles on our roads.
So the national grid is also full of flat earthers then?
No, the national grid is full of people who produce electricity, and they know that we will run out of electricity if all these mad people keep building electric cars.
The national grid are the people responsible for doing what you hate, which is building wind farms all over the world.
Well, they're not. They're in charge of producing power.
Yeah, but they're the ones who say, let's build some wind farms and get them to feed into the national grid.
Yeah, OK. Well, that's a mad policy. This is a more sensible one. By 2050, electric vehicles could make up more than 90% of all car sales, creating an extra peak demand of up to 18 gigawatts, OK?
Yeah, OK.
Now, 18 gigawatts is enormous. 18 gigawatts is the size of Mount Everest, OK, in terms of power.
And what do you mean in terms of power?
Well, that's how big it is in power terms.
Well, you'd have to measure it in terms of what it can power, surely.
Anyway, it's 30% more than current peak demand for electricity. The projected bill for the new Hinkley Point C power station is £20 billion, right?
Yeah.
Right.
What's that for building it?
For building it.
Yes.
We would have to build 5 of those, and that would cost £100 billion, but it's impossible to build even one before 2025. So if you've got all these electric cars by the year 2019, which we're going to have, we're going to run out of power.
Well,
it's
we're
as simple
not.
as that.
You see, again, this is all the doom and gloom merchants who refuse to understand that technology moves forward and that we are never, ever standing still when it comes to technology. I got a new phone today, all right, and this phone has more capacity on it than the computer that I had 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay? So, I mean, 4 years ago, you would have said, well, that can't be done. You can't possibly have a phone that takes pictures that has that much space on it.
You can't just pluck electricity out of the air. Electricity has to be generated.
It doesn't take any more power to power this phone than it took to power the previous phone that I had, which had a mere morsel of the amount of energy and memory that this phone has. So this phone is able to do an awful lot more with an awful lot less electricity, is what I'm saying.
The size of the battery in that phone is about the same size as a piece of chewing gum.
What?
Would you agree?
What's that?
The battery in that phone.
The battery in the phone is very small, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I'm saying is...
Have you seen the size of a battery in an electric car?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is...
Have you seen the size of it?
Yes, I have.
How big it is?
Yes, I have seen it.
It's as big as a suitcase.
Yes, because that is a car that it's powering, not a phone.
That's what I mean.
What I'm saying...
You need a lot more electricity.
But, 25, 30 years ago, you could not build a phone and build a battery that small that would power it.
Yeah.
And in 20 years' time, and probably in our case in 5 years' time, they will have moved it on sufficiently so they won't need all that power. They won't need a massive battery, and it will all be much more efficient.
You see, you don't understand technology at all.
Yeah, I do.
If they make
I don't
the
think we should have a
battery-
row about who understands technology.
If they make the battery half the size that it is now in a
Yes.
car,
Uh-huh.
it will still need to be fed with the same amount of electricity to make the car run.
It will be fed
of
with
course
less.
it will.
No, it won't.
It won't. You
It
don't
will-
understand.
it'll
You're
be-
a dumb cough. Complete dumb cough.
I'd like you to explain
I'm
it
not
to
having
me.
this conversation with you oaf.
I'd like you to explain it to me because we can all have a good laugh.
Yeah, no, we're having a good laugh.
You don't even know how your phone works.
You're
never
sheer
mind an
damned
electric
ignorance.
car.
Yeah.
But you keep carrying on with the flat Earth policy. You keep telling us all.
I'm
that
not a flat
it's
earther,
where-
mate.
You are.
No, I'm not. I'm a
keep
realist.
standing up against the waves and telling them to stop. And by the way, Ian says the new Wetherspoons is in Ramsgate. You plank.
Oh, where did I say it was?
Margate.
It's in Ramsgate.
This is
I knew
Talk
it was in
Sport.
Ramsgate.
That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. You're psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Lie down on the couch.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Lots more coming up, of course, over the course of the next couple of hours. We've got some listography suggestions coming in. All sorts of good ones. Some of them we can't actually do. Simon says this. I know lots of clever people, but they haven't got any common sense. Well, that may well be the case. And, OK, here's one from, what do you call Porky on the golf course, says Steve, with an IQ of 125. A foursome. That's too many four jokes, I think.
What, sorry?
That's too many four jokes.
What was the answer to that one?
That one was a foursome.
A foursome.
Yeah. Well, suggesting that your IQ is not very big.
Yeah, okay, I get all that, you know.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
3 favourite investigative reports from a journalist, says Peter.
3 what?
That sounds a bit complicated.
Well, I mean, look, a lot of investigative reports are a load of balderdash, to be honest. You know what I mean? No, pages and pages and pages of theory,
Yes.
which don't really get you
Well,
anywhere.
I remember when the Daily Express appointed an investigations department, and because after about a year they hadn't published anything,
Yeah.
somebody suggested unkindly,
Yeah.
maybe they should investigate why they haven't done anything in the paper.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Which might be the best place
I've
to
told
start.
you before, haven't I, about Harry Pugh from Unit 2?
Yes.
This was the Northern office in Manchester, setting up their own investigations unit. Got this Welsh guy called Harry Pugh.
Yeah.
And Harry was locked into a secret office and told to produce lots of investigations. And he didn't produce anything.
No, of course he didn't.
And he stayed at home most of the time on his farm in Wales. And he was always known as Harry Pugh from Unit 2 because nobody ever knew what he looked like because he was supposed to be
nobody ever
the
knew.
secret investigator.
You
Yeah,
can
that's
rhyme a lot
right.
of things with Q. Well, anyway, never mind that, because we've got Sophie Nicolau to talk to.
Excellent.
She is, of course, our favourite celebrity Arsenal fan. She's in Playa del Rey, California. And a very good morning to you, Sophie.
Good morning, lads.
Yeah,
How
hi,
are you
Sophie.
doing?
How the devil are you?
Pretty good. A little sweaty. I spent the day down at LA Galaxy watching the boys train ahead of the game against Manchester United on Saturday, going down to see Manchester United train tomorrow and attend their press conference too. So it was a good turnout. Good to see kind of some of the British media attending today as well and talking to the folks over at LA Galaxy. And so, yeah, good stuff. I didn't know the captain of LA Galaxy knew Lukaku quite well when he spent time at Anderlecht, and he's known him since he was a young fella. So it was interesting hearing
His take on it all.
his take on it, and to see him kind of, make this mega transfer. Said he'd spoken to him about it while he was here on his vacation and stuff, and raves about him, says he's a good guy, but also says, that, for those, he was asked about, how Lukaku has some people are a little bit skeptical, and he said he's just going to have to fill those big boots and make sure that he plays well for United, and that the pressure's on now, but he expects him to do well there.
OK, we'll talk about Lukaku, of course, has just left Everton, Sophie. Will his replacement be your boy, Olivier Giroud? And if so, do you think Everton are getting a fine player or somebody who's a busted flush?
I am very upset at the prospect of Olivier Giroud leaving, and Arsenal fans are going to be, be careful what you wish for. How about that? Because Olivier Giroud, if you look at his stats and if you look at what he's done over the last 4 years in particular, with his goal-scoring ratio, and he's actually got one of the best conversion rates of any striker in the Premier League. He gives us an option, he gives us a plan B. He allows Arsene Wenger to have a little bit of a different tactical approach when, we're not able to play through the middle with pace or on the flanks. He's able to kind of provide that aerial option. He came off the bench and he did that really, really well in games last season. And I think it's going to be a huge loss. I think Arsenal are in that situation right now where they need to hold on to a couple of players as opposed to, buying Lacazette and then selling Giroud and selling Alexis Sanchez. I don't think that helps Arsenal at all. And Everton would inherit a phenomenal player, in my opinion. I've always been a huge fan, even from his days at Montpellier. And I think they're going to inherit a great guy. He's always done very well at Arsenal, on and off the pitch. And he seemed like one of those players that loved playing for the badge. And so I personally will miss him greatly if he leaves. And I hope that Wenger can put his arms around him and convince him that he still has a role to play.
A couple of people were asking the question earlier when they knew you were coming on about what they regarded as the disloyal players who kind of went on a work to rule, like Oxlade-Chamberlain, Walcott and a few others, and in the hopes that they might be being shoved out. No sign of that really happening, is there?
I think the Ox is a little disgruntled.
Yeah.
I think Theo really wants to stay at Arsenal. I was really hoping one of those two would rise greater than they have so far. I think we've seen moments of brilliance from both of them, but it's been too inconsistent. I was hoping that one of them could even rise to the point of becoming captain of Arsenal. I like that we have a British core, but that British core, Walcott, the Ox, Callum, Chambers, Jenkinson, they haven't really, excelled. The Ox had a good season, and he had moments this season where he really put the team on his shoulders. But can he do that consistently every single week? I still have question marks. Would I like them to stay? Yes, because I'd like to see the Ox especially build on the confidence that he infused in the team last season. And like I said, we're the type of squad that right now, buying players and selling as few as we can, just get rid of the deadwood, but keep the players and keep that core there. And so we have, different options. Europa League's going to be tough. We're going to want to be competitive in the Premier League, especially as the other big clubs are going to be gunning for glory in the Champions League. And I think if we get off to a good start, and like we usually do up until November, we can really challenge for the Premier League this season, but we've got to keep those players that I mentioned. Otherwise, I think it's going to be tough for us.
Now, all the news on the back pages this morning, football-wise, is about Kyle Walker being on the brink of joining Manchester City.
Indeed. So
it's not so much about the Gooners as it is about your North London rivals. Is that a bad move for him? A bad move for Spurs, letting him go?
I think it's great business for Spurs. 50 million for Kyle Walker. I mean, the world's gone mad. He's a good player, but is he worth 50 million? I was talking with, and I'd love to, I'm starting a new podcast.
I was going to ask you about that.
A group of women, Arsenal women, the Gooner Ramble girls. It's part of the Gooner Ramble brand. These lovely guys like you who really support women, Giles and Akil. They support women in the game, and they've given us a platform to be part of their brand. And Amanda Seamer and Sophia, so knowledgeable. They've been very ingrained in Arsenal, in the club. They go to home games all the time. And it's really great that we've banded together, to talk about Arsenal. There are not a lot of women out there who are doing this. And so for us, it's amazing. And we were talking about, how if he's worth 50, then what is Alexis Sanchez worth? I mean, honestly, guys, and then when you look at the contract as well for Kyle Walker over the period of his contract, we're talking about 100 million.
Yeah.
It's not just the transfer fee.
Yeah.
And
look at Swansea turning down. Swansea turning down an offer from Everton for Gylfi Sigurdsson for 40 million.
And again, is Sigurdsson worth, that money? I mean, he went to Spurs. That didn't really work out for him. He went back to Swansea. And, Everton are not the type of club that throws silly money at players, but they're really going for it, which is great because I'd love to see that rivalry with Liverpool really ignite next season. But it's a little bit crazy. Those two players in particular, if they're worth 45 and 50 respectively, then Alexis Sanchez should not go for less than 90 million. I mean, seriously,
Yeah, it makes him the most expensive defender that has ever been traded in British football, and I think one of the most expensive in the world. David Luiz went back to Chelsea for 50 million. John Stones, 50 million. Everton to Manchester City. He's amongst the ranks of those sort of people now, and I totally agree with you. It seems oddly placed.
So someone who I saw today training at LA Galaxy and who's been here for a while, how much would Ashley Cole have gone during that time when he left Arsenal to Chelsea?
Yes.
What would his value have been? And we're talking about someone who potentially was the best left-back in the world.
Oh, for a number of years. For 3 or 4 years.
For a number of years.
Yeah. No,
So,
I totally agree.
It seems to be escalating and it's getting a little crazy. And obviously, Kyle Walker, there's much more value with British players. I don't know. We were just having a Twitter debate about this.
Mind you, he's 27, That another thing surprised me. At 27, paying that money as well. Because, 3 good years or something like that. He's not 22 or 23 like John Stones was.
And he's a bit injury prone. He can dip in and out of the squad as well. As I said, I'm an Arsenal fan and tastes a little bit like vinegar to say this, but what a bit of business by Spurs. I think it's tremendous.
He is in the traditional Pep Guardiola vein of defenders that don't defend, though, isn't he? He's very good going forward.
So he's perfect for Pep.
Yeah.
He's perfect for Manchester City.
Crazy, isn't it?
They couldn't afford to miss out on him after they lost Dani Alves. That would have been hugely embarrassing. Yeah. And so Daniel Levy had that leverage, and he, credit to him. He took it. He absolutely took it.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, just while we were talking there, I have retweeted your latest Gooner ramble on the two mics. So if anybody wants to look for it there.
You're a rock star.
They can.
You. Would you guys come on the show? Would you?
We'd love to,
yeah. We will.
Absolutely.
Four ladies.
We'll talk to anyone, but we'd be even more delighted to talk to you and your friends.
Yes, we certainly will. And you get a lot of sense out of me, Sophie. You won't get a lot of sense out of
Get him early in the morning would be my advice.
Drivel.
Don't get him in the afternoon.
He talks a lot of drivel.
He's a bit like Shane McGowan, as I was once told. You want him to sing, get him in the morning.
Mike will have the last word, and he'll come on and rave. Come on, the Gooner Ramble girls, and rave about Wayne Rooney having one of those seasons that ends up being quite a story of the season. He's looking lean. I think. No one's talked about that. He's looking lean and fit.
Did you see his goal? See his goal today?
Oh, what a goal.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I don't care who that was against. That was an amazing goal.
Of course it was. And he's the boy feels loved.
Against
and when
the
you
big
feel
Nairobi team.
When you feel loved, you get on with the business. And he wasn't managed well, I don't think, at Manchester United. He is going to be managed well now. And I think he could be going through a renaissance. But that's enough of Wayne Rooney.
That's enough of Wayne Rooney. We've been talking about him for about a week now. Let's talk about, because we haven't got a lot of time, and I know that I like to keep your political views keenly as well. Mr. Trump, your president's over in France. Apparently, he's been complimenting the French president's wife, Brigitte, by saying she's in great shape, which is almost the most unpresidential thing he said, amongst many things.
Oh, man. I mean, the one redeeming feature here, perhaps, is that his son, Baron, is always decked out in Arsenal gear. I don't know if you've seen him.
I haven't seen him in Arsenal gear, no.
Yeah, he's always wearing Arsenal gear. Well, he's foot in mouth, and I think that's come to be expected from Mr. Trump. I actually, he's kind of like a 1980s CEO boardroom guy, isn't it?
He is.
I don't get offended by him saying she's in shape. I think that's a compliment. But when you're president of the United States, you can't really go around saying, that the Prime Minister of France is wife
I
is in
think
good
what
shape.
he was doing was he was saying that don't worry if everybody else says that she's old enough to be your mother. She's in great shape. I think he was being kind.
He was trying to be, that's what's so endearing about many of the things that he does. Tremendous stuff. Anyway, listen, Sophie, delightful to talk to you once again. We've got to go, and we'll talk to you soon on your football ramble. Sophie Nicolau there. Go to the Two Mics website, the page, the Twitter page, and you'll see where her podcast is and where you can get it. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mics, and of course, there will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Here's one from Phil, who says, what about 3 world mysteries you'd like the truth, the facts, and the answers to?
Well, because you can't get them. I mean, it's a great suggestion, thank you, but all you end up with is a conspiracy theory. So there's no conclusion to that one.
Well, no, only in the sense that he's asking whether we would nominate subjects which perhaps there are no answers to.
Yes, okay.
For example, I mean, I'm not saying we should do it, but I mean, you could call the Bermuda Triangle one, couldn't you?
Well, we'll put it on the to think list.
Yes.
Okay.
Speaking of which, not necessarily of the Bermuda Triangle,
Yeah.
but of mythological type scenarios. I was reading a story earlier on today about Loch Ness.
Yeah.
Because I know how you like that show, The Loch.
The Loch.
Which is on Monday nights, I think, isn't it?
The Loch.
No, Sunday nights. It's
on Sunday.
In
The
fact,
Loch.
I'll probably watch the next instalment
Is
of it.
anybody drowning in the Loch?
Well, there is a man in there with no heart, isn't
That's
there?
right.
Well, do you know that there's a new monster in the Loch? And I started thinking, oh, this sounds like a good story.
He's a monster.
And the monster, what's that song?
Who's that coming round the mountain? Is it the monster? Is it the monster?
Who's that coming over the hill?
Who's that coming over the hill?
Yeah.
It's the monster.
That's a relatively
It's the
modern
monster.
song for you to know.
Yeah, well, it's because it was used in the first episode of The Loch.
Oh, really?
Because these kids broke into the abattoir,
Ah.
remember, got all the bones, then laid them out
Yeah.
along the edge and then got the offal
Yeah.
from the local, slaughterhouse.
Yes.
And then tried to make out that, Nessie had been washed ashore.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they also left the human heart, didn't they? Or a human heart was found there.
Somebody left the human
Somebody
heart.
left it,
That's
but
the
we
thing.
don't know.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
anyway, as I read the story, I realised it was just a clever headline. It was nothing to do
Yes.
with a new monster at all.
Yes.
But it's an alien invader who is invading Loch Ness, right? And it is a new species of salmon, which has been found in the River Ness for the first time.
And what's wrong with a new species of salmon?
It's a particularly aggressive species of salmon,
What's it doing?
known as the humpback salmon, or the pink salmon.
Yeah.
And originally, it was released into the Russian waters.
Yes.
Because it was farmed in Russia, basically, because they were trying to make the stock, better.
Yeah, I see.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
You
usually
mean
found.
bigger and more aggressive, yeah.
Well, not just that, but so that you could catch more of them.
Yes, yes.
It was introduced into the actual habitat, right?
Yeah.
It's usually found in the chilly waters off Canada and Alaska,
Yeah.
where they are part of the staple diet of the grizzly bear.
Right.
And their translucent eggs also make very, very good caviar.
Yeah.
But one theory being looked into is that the pink salmon may have originated from the Barents Sea,
Yeah.
where the Russians introduced thousands of them 40 years ago.
Well, how did they
as
get
part
into Loch Ness?
Of a massive breeding program. Well, that's a very good question.
Loch Ness is a landlocked lake.
Well, people have said that, but
Yeah,
no, there are meant to be a couple of underwater connections to the sea. Yes, there are.
No, there aren't.
No, there are.
No.
That's why if there was to be a
Yeah.
theory of a monster
Yeah.
that goes in and out of those, it is connected.
No, it's
It
not.
is totally
it's not,
connected.
honestly. And one of the reasons why a Loch Ness monster couldn't possibly exist is because there's not enough fish in Loch Ness for a monster to feed on all year, all year round.
Right.
So,
Well,
that's
over
why-
the last 10 years, some
Yeah.
of these fish have successfully bred in rivers in Norway and Iceland, and they may now be crossing the North Sea into Britain. That's what the theory is.
Well, that's all a bit mad. I mean, those grizzly bears in Canada, they just stand, don't they, in shallow water as the salmon literally fly over the rapids.
That's right.
And they just catch
They
them and
catch
eat
them in midair.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But if they did colonise the British waterways, the results would be catastrophic, it says,
Yeah.
for native wild Atlantic salmon.
Yeah, we
as
don't
they're
want
as they're an invasive fish that would compete for the same food.
Do you know, I see this same problem
Yeah.
on the supermarket shelves in Morrison's,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because I only...
Morrison seems to be much more your supermarket of choice these days.
Sainsbury's.
Well, you always tend to be telling me about Morrison's.
Morrison's I can use on foot because geographically it's quite close. Sainsbury's I tend to get in the car and do the super shop. You know what I mean?
The super shop.
Yeah, I buy like...
Why don't you just get them to deliver it? I keep telling you this.
I buy these huge boxes of Daz.
Daz?
Yeah, Daz.
Why?
Well, just do because then...
Do you use powder?
Yeah, the house.
You don't use the old little capsules?
She's got both.
Really?
No, she's got capsules, she's got powder, and she's got liquid in a plastic bottle, you know.
Right.
So you use
Well, that's fabric conditioner, isn't it?
No. You
Doesn't use that?
No. Oh, yes, she does use fabric conditioner, but
Well,
that's
how
a
much
different
washing
thing
does she
altogether.
do for you?
Well, 3 times a week.
3 times a week?
Yeah.
You do 3 washing machine loads 3 times a week?
Yes,
that's
that's right.
a lot, isn't it?
Well, she does shirts,
Yeah.
and then she does dark.
Well, you can't wear more than 7 shirts. That's 1 load.
I can wear more than 7 shirts a week, easy.
Can you?
Yeah, I wear 2 a day sometimes.
2 a day?
Well, sometimes we go about our business during the day, then
Yeah.
I come in the evening, I'd put a different shirt on.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, easily wear more than 7 shirts a day. But anyway, getting back to the salmon.
Yeah.
When I go to the shelf which says...
Bargain basement.
No, it says fish.
Fish?
Fish, that's right, yeah, sorry, that's...
That's easy to forget that.
No. No, it's tinned fish.
Tinned fish?
Because it's not like the fish shop, you know what I mean?
No, not
Where-
the fishmonger.
Not the fishmonger, that's
yeah.
right, yeah. So I go there, right, and then I watch,
You
see.
watch?
Yeah, I watch. You know what I watch?
Oh, you loiter about the fish shelf.
No. What happens is decent people
Yeah.
buy red rock salmon.
Red salmon, yeah.
Wild red salmon.
That's very expensive.
It is.
It's about £4 a tin, isn't it?
And then the great unwashed come along
Yeah.
and buy little tins of pink salmon.
Pink salmon's about
which is
half the price.
It's about 1/3 of the price. And I think
this stuff is pink salmon.
That says something about somebody in life. Somebody who can't be bothered to, organise their budget
Well, maybe
properly
they haven't got enough money
to buy wild red salmon and buys this pink stuff, which presumably is tasteless. I wouldn't know because I'd never buy it.
I've actually tasted both. And there's no doubt the red is better.
Yeah.
Or it's a bit more sort of flavourful.
Yes.
So the pink is not bad at all. It's not a bad substitute.
Yeah, but why get second-hand salmon?
It's not a question of second-hand salmon.
It's second-hand salmon. I don't know why people produce it.
It's less expensive.
You know, that used to bug me in America when I used to go shopping in D.C., I remember, the supermarkets there. You could get proper fish fingers.
Yeah.
Because, they were fillets and all that.
Fish sticks, they call them, don't they?
Yeah, fish sticks, right. But then always there was this cheaper version of it was flake fish, flaked fish or something like that.
I know what you mean. It was like sea something or other, sea legs or something
like that. Yeah, but it was it was another cheap version.
But it was
it
was basically sort of mechanically recovered fish.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's right.
And it was no particular kind of fish.
Yeah, that's
it wasn't
right.
Like
It wasn't fillet.
100% cod or
that's
anything
right.
Like that.
Yeah.
It was just any old rubbish.
I cannot stand second-hand food and second-rate food and all that kind of stuff.
Second-rate food all the time.
I don't. They're ridiculous.
You just told me you ate a big box of ice cream with toffee on it.
Yes, I did.
That's second-rate food.
It's not second-rate food.
Yeah, it is.
It's brilliant. It was Wall's. So Wall's is the world's top.
Wales is not the world's top ice cream.
It is. World's top ice cream maker.
I promise you, it is not.
You get a few Italian brands just for Italy, but mostly Wall's is the internationally
What about
accepted.
Häagen-Dazs?
Häagen-Dazs is good for Häagen-Dazs.
You don't think that's better than Wall's?
Well, the problem is that's a specialist ice cream.
No,
it's not a worldwide
it's just a kind
brand.
of gourmet ice cream.
Yeah, gourmet. That's right. It's for ponces
Wall's is not a worldwide
who want to go
brand.
around, walking around, during the daytime, with my Häagen-Dazs and my little plastic spoon.
Yeah.
Look how cool I am. I despise people like that.
Do you? I thought you despised the people who walked around with the cheap stuff. So you basically despise everybody.
No.
You despise the people who buy the expensive stuff and the people who buy the cheap stuff.
No, you're putting words in my mouth. That's not at all.
Shall I give you a few facts about salmon?
Poses. Yeah.
Shall I give you a few facts about salmon?
Yeah.
Do you know the largest salmon on record caught by a fishing rod in the United Kingdom was caught on the River Tay?
Right.
And I'm going to ask you, it is indeed. It was caught by Ms. Georgina Ballantyne.
Wow.
I don't imagine she was a small girl.
Yeah.
How much do you think it weighed?
Right, a giant salmon.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say
no matter if you get it wrong.
No, I would say 16 pounds.
64 pounds.
64.
64 pounds.
That's 4 times 16.
That's a lot. It's very big, isn't it?
It's huge.
Adult salmon stop feeding when they come back to the river, sometimes for over a year.
Yeah.
In Scotland, the highest jump a salmon has been known to make is at the Orrin Falls in Ross-shire, where one jumped 3.7 metres.
3.7
to get over the vertical falls.
That's 11 feet.
It is.
Yeah.
That's quite a long way, isn't it?
That's amazing,
and salmon can travel up to 3,500 miles to spawn, and the energy to travel all those miles come from their stored body fat.
They travel 3,700 miles to spawn?
They can do, yeah.
Are they travelling with the flow of the river or against it?
Well, I think they go against the river when they're trying to get back to their spawning ground.
Yeah, I think they are.
So I think they're not always travelling against the flow of the river, only when they're trying to get up it, if you know what I mean.
I think you're right.
Yeah, fascinating.
Right. Yeah,
I love salmon.
Yeah, I love salmon. I do. I love a salmon salad.
But I would buy the pink stuff and give it a try. It's not that bad.
No, I'd never do that.
It's not that bad.
I'd be embarrassed.
Why?
To go to the checkout.
Well, it's still not that cheap.
Yeah, but I'd be embarrassed to go to the checkout and to admit that, I was such a paltry individual. I was buying pink salmon.
Really?
Yeah, I would.
Is that what it's come down to?
Yes.
Shocking.
What do you mean come down to? That's what it's got
Nobody
up to.
cares. Nobody cares
that's
what you buy.
because my standards in life are very high.
So when you're filling up your weekend shopping basket with, about 85 packs of butter because you're storing it and you're hoarding it,
there's a shortage, that's why.
Your Wall's
warned.
block of vanilla ice cream and
it's not a block, actually.
It's
a plastic
it's a box.
canister. No, it's plastic. And it's very solid plastic.
Yeah, I know. It's a plastic block. I know exactly what it is.
Plastic canister.
You've also got in there your orange squash. You've also got your fish fingers.
I love orange squash.
You've also got your
fish fingers.
Tins of peas.
Yeah, well, everybody eats tins of peas.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, most people eat frozen peas.
Rubbish.
The people who eat tins of peas are considered to be planks.
No.
Yeah, they are.
No.
This is Talk Sport.
Madness, they call it madness. Madness, they call it madness. I'm about.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics coming up a little bit later on this listography. Got a few more suggestions here. One from Steve the Cabbie. Now that your two mics tour is worldwide, how about naming 3 venues anywhere in the world you'd like to take it to? Which we could do, I suppose.
Well, we could, but then again, we're limiting ourselves because we've got a very open mind about that.
Yes.
So it wouldn't be fair to compartmentalise it.
But don't forget to go to the Two Mics website and check out getting tickets for the winery, City Winery in New York, where we're doing a show on September the 16th. And if you can't get there, you can live stream it, of course. And in fact, last night we were doing some filming for that very purpose, were we not?
We were, because we understand the problem that if you want to purchase live streaming at this stage, and we're still 2 months off, 3 months off, July,
Two and a half,
September,
anyway.
2.5 months off the show, then you're actually buying fresh air at the moment.
Yes.
What you're buying is booking a space to see it when the show happens.
Yeah.
And in the run-up to the show, we'll be doing stuff live from New York.
We will.
So what we've done is we've gone out last night to studios in Soho in London, the Bohemian area of London.
Yeah.
And
Film Central.
Film Central, that's right. And we've put a load of stuff together, and we're going to start opening up the streaming channel within a few days.
Yeah, within a few days,
Yes.
and then there'll be lots of little bits and little snippets of content going out.
That's
but
right.
only if you buy the streaming scenario, of course.
That's right,
Here's one from Derek in Pencoed, who we haven't heard from in a while.
Yeah.
He says, Mike Porky claims he doesn't judge anyone, but if they don't eat Wall's ice cream and if they eat pink salmon, he's a hypocrite. And Porky, I don't eat tinned peas, he says.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Derek.
Derek, is that the bog cleaner?
Derek in Pencoed. He's not a bog cleaner anymore.
Derek in Pencoed?
Yeah.
Yeah, not bog cleaner anymore. No. Right, now then, I'm going to get serious for a minute.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm very distressed to hear about the problems in the marriage of Jamie and Louise Redknapp.
Are you?
I've met Jamie a few times on the road.
Right.
You know, when Andy and I used to work together, Townsend, he was a TV commentator as well, so was Jamie.
He still does a bit of that, doesn't he?
Yes, Andy still does a bit of that. Yeah,
no, I mean, Jamie's still...
Jamie does a lot of it. He does a lot of it. You know, he's top man at Sky.
Yeah.
And they seem to have this perfect relationship, so I'm very sorry to hear that they've encountered problems, particularly as they've got 2 children.
Yeah.
2 little boys, I think it is.
Yeah.
And, they're the ones who, always kind of suffer in these relationships. But the strangest thing is, and, you don't want to take in idle gossip when these sort of things happen because it's so painful to both sides and all that. But it appears, according to some experts who, work in showbiz, this all happened when Louise got involved in the, the reality show.
Oh, yeah. Well, it often happens, isn't it? Like, whenever anybody does Strictly, there's always a bit of strain seemingly put on marriages and relationships and things.
But this seems to have come because... she got involved in Strictly Come Dancing.
Right.
And
well, that's what I'm saying. Whenever anybody gets involved in Strictly, there's always some kind of issue.
No, but there's no suggestion anywhere that she's formed some sort of relationship with another man. What it seems to be insinuating is that she went off to do Strictly. Uh-huh. She was there as a single woman, not a mother with 2 children, and not as a wife to Jamie Redknapp, and that other contestants on the show kind of opened her eyes to the fact that, there is still a life after you've got married and all this kind of stuff. Right. That appears to be what's kind of happened.
Yes.
And I think if that's the case, it's very sad, isn't it?
Well, it is sad. Whenever anybody breaks up, it's sad.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, 50% of couples who get married get divorced.
Yeah.
So that's the reality of life. And I think if you do get exposed to something which perhaps you didn't know about before, whether it's somebody in particular or whether it's a different lifestyle from other people, you can turn your head.
One commentator says that she became very friendly with Daisy Lowe. Uh-huh. Is Daisy Lowe a singer or an actress? Or
Daisy Lowe, yeah. Was she not the girl that was at, what do you call it? Daisy Lowe, was she not at West Ham when we were down there?
No, that's Pixie Lott.
Oh, was that Pixie Lott?
Pixie Lott, yeah, the singer, yeah. So she's got very close to Daisy Lowe, who's also on the show, and she's now rediscovering her youth.
There you go.
That's
it's always a dangerous thing for men and women
to
rediscover their youth in their 40s.
Yeah. Yeah,
can always lead to
the 7-year itch and all
scenarios.
That. Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Now a couple more things to suggest for listography. Craig says, "How about 3 regrets or 3 lies you have told?" That would be too difficult to narrow that down.
Oh, I'm afraid so.
Yeah. And Andy says, "What about your 3 favourite British landmarks?"
Yeah, I like that.
Why?
I like that.
I quite like that.
Yes, because there's a There's a story behind every reason why you'd like a landmark, is there not?
There is.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Should we do that?
I think we'll do that.
We'll do that coming up in the next hour.
Okay.
All right. Robin says, Porky claims he is a Christian. I'll tell you now, he has the weirdest Christian ethics I've ever heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I presume because of your lack of tolerance for your fellow man.
No, I don't have a lack of tolerance for my fellow man at all.
Really?
I have great tolerance, but I just don't think that life should be unnecessarily favourable to those who do not seek to put into life what they want to get out of it. Simple as that.
Baggy Neil says, and he calls you a food snob, MG. What a plank.
Yeah.
Richard says, bleats on about salmon incorrectly and then buys tinned peas and not frozen petit pois.
Yeah, well, you know, it's everybody's choice. Now then, is there not a classic court case going on at the moment involving the issue we raised quite recently, and that was the old monkey who took his own selfie?
Oh, the selfie, the monkey selfie, yes.
Monkey
I believe
selfie.
there is a case going on. I think it's going on in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But the guy in question, who is, of course, the photographer that owns the camera that the monkey took the picture on, is now, as you said, so broke.
Yes.
That it's the whole case has kind of ruined him. But basically, what they're saying is that he's now so broke he can't even afford to go over there to see what's going to be said in the courtrum.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how low he is.
Now, this chap is from Monmouthshire. His name
He's from Wales, yeah.
Is David, what's his name? David Slater, right?
I think that's right, yeah.
But there's a new complication in the case, and do you know what it is?
No.
Even the people defending the monkey, right, and trying to establish human rights for the monkey and ownership of the picture to the monkey, and that is the people called PETA, the people's
the people for the ethical treatment of animals.
That's right.
Yeah,
they have now conceded in the court today that we're not even sure now which monkey we're talking about.
Really?
So they don't know who to award the rights of the monkey to, because they've said
it's just ridiculous, isn't it?
A lot of monkeys look the same.
Well, even they say that.
Yeah,
really?
even they're saying that, well, you know, we have to, you know, when the judge asked you got to award the rights back to the monkey.
Who would speak for this monkey?
Yeah, where is the monkey? And they said, well, we're not sure, because there's a lot of monkeys who look like a monkey.
Do you know what's funny? Is after you and I had the last discussion about this, right?
Yes.
And I was laughing at you because your first question to me was, who owns the monkey?
That's right.
Right? About 3 other people I've been talking to about this, their first question to me was, who owns the monkey?
Exactly.
And I said, and somebody actually tweeted me and said, you know, I've got a mate, well, my wife has got a PhD in something or other.
Yeah.
And he said, she's not a stupid person.
Yeah.
And he said, when I told her the story that you told on the radio, she said, who owns the monkey?
That's right, exactly.
Everybody's asking the question that you've asked.
Yeah, but that you rubbished.
That I ridiculed.
And ridiculed.
It's just not to say that I'm not in the right.
Yeah.
It's just to say that a lot of people are as strange as you
with
their thought process.
No, they're not strange as me. They're as laterally thinking as I am, and as intelligent as me.
I see. Yeah. God forbid.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a most ridiculous case because all the photographer's trying to say is that, look, it was my camera, you know, and I was in the. If I hadn't been there, the monkey wouldn't have picked up my camera and taken the picture.
But this is the thing. We were talking about this tonight in Soho, and we were with some people who were filming us, right?
That's right.
Because in America, if you are the photographer, you retain the copyright, no matter what goes on, right? Now, in some other countries, including this one, if you take a picture of somebody, the person who is the subject of the picture can sometimes own the copyright.
That's right.
And or the publication for whom you've taken the picture can sometimes own the copyright. Because lots of our photographic friends used to get very frustrated when they discover, for example...
That's right, somebody's taken their image.
Not only that, but the paper that commissioned them to take the picture had sold the picture on to a couple of magazines or a couple of hundred magazines.
That's right.
And not given them any money.
Not given any money for it, yeah.
So it's very complicated. But poor old Mr. Slater has now apparently said... that he's so distraught and he can't go over and see what the actual outcome of the case is going to be.
That's right.
That he's considering giving up his career as a photographer.
Yeah.
And instead, he's either going to become a tennis coach or a dog walker.
Really?
I mean, why tennis coach?
I don't know, he must be a pretty good tennis player.
Yeah, I mean, why would you suddenly go,
walker.
You know what, I'm going to chuck it all in and become a tennis coach?
Yeah, the judge said, bring Naruto to me. Naruto's the name of the monkey who took the picture.
That's him, yeah.
So then they have to go...
Or maybe not.
Yeah, well, exactly. Then they have to go out into the, the animal sanctuary where it all happened, right? And somebody's got to identify Naruto as definitely being the monkey.
Well, can you imagine having a sort of an ID parade of the monkeys?
We'll have to go to Indonesia and look at a load of monkeys and find which one's Naruto.
Yeah, put them all next to each other.
Well, do you know what this photographer should do now?
What?
He should say, right, it's my camera, so there will be DNA on the camera of the monkey concerned. And I'm not giving you the DNA.
Right.
Right? So you can't
there
prove
wouldn't
it.
still be DNA on it, would it?
Of course there would.
Really?
Of course there would. You can get DNA from 1,000 years ago. That's why they dig up bodies, don't they?
Well, maybe
but
maybe the monkey's smarter than the average bear,
Or
and has
smarter than the
somehow
average
cleaned
monkey.
his fingerprints off the camera.
Yeah, maybe. yeah, perhaps he did. Yeah,
Or maybe not.
Yeah.
I think we might be taking it too seriously. But we'll keep you updated if there's a decision
Definitely.
in the San Francisco court. We shall bring it to you because that's what we do. This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two mics. I'm still getting an awful lot of tweets on the food front, right? Richard says this: I love pink salmon, hard-boiled egg and salad cream all mashed up together. Red salmon is no good for this.
Yeah, really?
I can actually see what he means. And actually, I'll tell you what, pink salmon in a tin is probably a better salmon to make, for example, salmon fish cakes with.
Yes.
Very possibly.
Yeah.
Because of its kind of, it's more clumped together.
More clumped
than
together,
red salmon. Kiwi says this: Loch Ness isn't landlocked. There is a river at the northern tip that runs to the Murray Firth and then into the ocean.
Yeah, well, it's so narrow, though, that you can't actually get anything down it.
Well,
That's
no,
the problem.
well, you can. That's where the salmon are coming in.
Yeah,
and
no, I don't
Squirrel
think so.
says this: as I witnessed in Alaska once, at certain points in the years, there are more salmon in the rivers than water.
Yes.
Fascinating watch.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure it is very fascinating
Yeah.
indeed. But of little use if it's in where? Newfoundland?
Where?
Where? You just talked about somewhere.
He was saying in Canada.
Canada, that's
Sorry,
Newfoundland.
Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska. Oh, Alaska, yeah,
Alaska,
Alaska's
which is
good.
not Newfoundland.
Alaska's one of the great last wild frontiers, isn't it? I must go there and have a look at it.
Yes.
Find out what's going on.
Well, there's a lot of cruises you can do to Alaska.
Yeah, you can do cruises, yeah. Do you remember a few months ago I said to you, I pointed out a weird family who live in Alaska where the nearest neighbour is 200 miles away?
Yeah, I think so.
a
And they have to
huge-
fly everywhere, right? Do they have to fly everywhere?
No, they don't. They just stay where they are. This is the whole point. They don't get out anywhere.
Yeah.
And there was a huge feature on them in a magazine over the weekend. And they're the strangest family in the world, really. They go shopping twice a year, and they buy so much stuff. They have a huge underground storage,
Right.
like
They're
silo.
not these. They're not these kind of survivalists.
No, they don't think the
or
world's
anything.
going to end.
No.
They just say that they don't want to be touched by, day-to-day rat race society.
Oh, okay.
And they shoot their own food.
Right.
And they supplement it with this, these hundreds of cans of food they buy and put
Yeah.
in the
You
silo.
think they
under-
have red salmon or pink salmon?
Well, either or, I'm sure. They exist on a very old-fashioned ham radio type thing for communication.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And they generate all their own power. They, once a year they go off and buy, a tanker load of fuel.
Well, they presumably have their own generators and everything, right?
Yeah, but they have to you have to feed a generator, don't you, with oil and all that kind
Yes,
of stuff.
indeed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they are completely isolated. The kid learns everything he learns from his computer because they've managed to get up to the tallest tree in the area and get an aerial up so he can get Wi-Fi and
So,
all that kind
yeah,
of stuff.
okay.
Yeah,
Broadband.
Yeah,
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all very odd.
It is. It's all very odd. We'll come back to that, though, because Conor Daly is here. He is, of course, a
Good.
GP2 driver, son of Formula One driver Derek Daly.
Indeed.
Who, of course, raced at Silverstone many a time. Lewis Hamilton's found himself at the centre of it all again
Certainly
this week.
has.
He is a very, very divisive figure in motor racing. He's in the papers today saying, I'm not sorry, after he's been accused of snubbing that street event in London. Let's see what Conor makes of it all. Conor, very good morning to you. Welcome.
Thank you, guys. How are you?
Yeah,
Very well, thank you.
Very well indeed. I mean, he is a divisive figure, Lewis Hamilton. If you like him, you don't care, basically. You say, well, look, this is a guy that's a fantastic driver, great champion, but why does anyone care whether he's being nice about his job?
Well, I think, Lewis is obviously a superstar, beyond racing. He's made himself a Hollywood star as well, spending a lot of time in America.
Yeah.
Hanging out with the celebrities. I was always a big Lewis Hamilton fan. Until he said some things about the IndyCar field and during the month of May, which I thought were a little unfair.
Right.
But I get it. But to have Fernando come over and it was just, if you talk to a lot of us now, we sort of have a couple different thoughts on Lewis, but I mean, I still think he's obviously one of the most talented drivers in the world for sure. And I think he's doing a lot for F1 by sort of bringing it to the more sort of Hollywood type stage, which is cool. I like to see that. So, I don't hate on him at all for whatever he's doing. I mean, it was a bit weird for him to miss that F1 event in London because I think that was quite cool for, the fans to interact with drivers that closely and have that in the city.
Yeah.
But, I'm sure there'll be more stuff like that.
Well, the thing is, Connor, what's supposed to be behind it is that he strongly believes that, is it Toto Wolff, who's the head of Mercedes Racing, is actively encouraging Sebastian Vettel to leave his current team, Mercedes, and come and rejoin Mercedes because he thinks a German driver would look great in a German car. And Lewis Hamilton, quite rightly, took umbrage to this, considering that Vettel nearly ran him off the road 2 races ago, and he feels that the only way he can protest is to do it publicly. And frankly, I've got a bit of sympathy with him. If your boss is undermining you by going and courting another driver, then, and you're as good as you've just described Lewis Hamilton to be, you ain't got much option but to go public with it, have you?
Yeah, I mean, if your boss is, kind of messing around, like that, Toto's a smart guy. He's not necessarily messing around, but there are a lot of really good drivers in Formula One, and Mercedes obviously wants to be the best. And to be fair, I think they have a pretty stout driving lineup with Bottas and Hamilton. I mean, Bottas I think is potentially world championship material. Now that he's with Mercedes, so I obviously Vettel is German and Mercedes is supremely German, so
exactly.
That is a good fit.
Yeah.
But time will tell. I mean, I think the results of this year will definitely have an interesting effect on the future for both team and driver. So
yes,
should be interesting.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, being from that side of the Atlantic, Connor, you can give us an insight into Liberty Media and obviously how they're dealing with the ownership now of Formula One. Are they doing a pretty good job, do you think? Because I mean, we're already hearing that the British Grand Prix might be in some kind of dire straits. It might no longer be happening at Silverstone. It might be happening in the City of London instead. I mean, are they doing things the right way as far as you can tell?
I think it's too early to tell. We don't really know yet. I mean, I think obviously the British Grand Prix, at least in my era of when I've been alive, has always been Silverstone. So I think that would be a shame if it left Silverstone. But I think there's obviously a lot of smart people at Liberty Media, so I'm sure they're thinking about things a little bit differently. Bernie ran things he ran a pretty unique ship. Per se. So I'm very curious to see where it goes. I think there's a lot of, different methods of thinking, and there's certainly been a lot of interesting rumors and chatter about the future. So I'll be curious to see after this year and the next year, what things look like.
Yeah, the whole row about where all the future Grand Prix are going to take place, Connor, is going to alter not the structure or the shape of Formula One racing, but the heritage and the history of it. And that's going to be very sad, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it could be. But we sort of get a lot of that in IndyCar as well. People don't like change. And I get that, especially for Formula One because it's such a worldwide powerhouse and entity. I don't think it's going to change so much to where people are, going to get really upset about it. I think there's just going to be new things. I don't think they're going to, take away the event. I really don't think if the British Grand Prix would leave Silverstone. I just don't think that makes sense.
Yeah.
But even if it did, if you had a street race in London, I don't know. That sounds pretty cool to me, or something, something.
Well, it does to me. But I don't know the last time you came to London, Connor. I'm sure you travel widely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and And I mean, you look at the state of some of the roads in London, and we're now talking here about speed bumps, which are supposed to slow drivers down to 30 miles an hour.
What about the cycle superhighway?
Superhighways all over the place.
I mean, half the streets have been cut in half in terms of their size because there's a great big curb stopping the cars from going into a second lane. Yeah. So the cycles can go down the side.
And that's why I think it's going to stay at Silverstone.
Yeah, well, exactly. I totally agree. I mean, at least when you go to Monaco is basically a racetrack which for 11 months and 3 weeks of the year, the general public are allowed to use. Whereas in London, it's a city which they're trying to convert into a racetrack. It won't work.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
And as far as the way that Lewis Hamilton is kind of conducting himself this year, he's got this feud going on with Sebastian Vettel, which is great for the fans, I think. I mean, what do you see happening this weekend? I mean, he would be expecting, presumably, to get out front early on. He'd be expecting to be up there at the top of the grid. However, as we saw in Austria, he had that penalty which sent him back 5 spaces.
Which wasn't his fault.
Well, he says it wasn't his fault.
No, that was his team.
At the end of the day, everything that happens to him is his fault because it's his car.
Yeah.
So I mean, has he just got the wrong car this year? Is he just not going to be able to do it?
I don't know, man. I think when it comes to Lewis in the British Grand Prix, I mean, he's pretty good there. So I think it's going to be hard to beat him unless his teammate can do something. Or I'm not sure how strong Ferrari will be. Obviously, they've closed. It's extremely way more competitive this year. So it'll be very interesting, but I just think it's very hard to beat Hamilton when he gets in that British Grand Prix environment. I think he's been so good there.
Yeah.
It depends on obviously what happens with his car and, if there's any, penalties or funny business like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's, I wouldn't bet against Lewis at the British Grand Prix.
No, neither would I. I totally agree with you.
Mind you thought that he might win the Austrian Grand Prix, and then he got that penalty and he got shoved back.
Well, it wasn't his fault that he was started from 8th. It was his team. Somebody got the gearbox technology wrong.
But in recent years, he's got more irascible, hasn't he, Connor? I mean, he seems to blame his team more than anyone for anything. Funnily enough, when I was watching the event in London, they introduced the world champion. And everybody kind of forgotten there was Nico Rosberg. And Nico Rosberg appeared out of nowhere. And we were like, I remember that guy. It was only, a few months ago.
Yeah, it's weird, right? I mean, Nico is world champion. I mean, it's to not see him in the car, I think, is quite strange. But, I mean, I still respect the move that he made for sure.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely right. And, I mean, as far as anything else that's going on this weekend, we've got Wimbledon, got a bit of American interest in it for a change. You might be able to support a man and a woman going into the semi-finals.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't really follow tennis that much.
I don't blame you.
I've got to race myself this weekend.
Oh, have you? Where are you racing?
We're in Toronto. We have the Honda Indy Grand Prix at Toronto, so we're racing on Sunday, and that's what I'm working on.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
we'll keep an eye out for see how you're doing on that one, Connor.
On that one,
Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks,
Connor Daly, who's racing in Toronto at the weekend, son of former Formula One driver Derek Daly.
That's right, yeah.
And he's now a GP2 driver.
What possessed you to ask our Formula One racing expert about his views on Wimbledon?
No, I didn't want his view on Wimbledon, but I'll tell you why.
Yes.
One of the reasons is that if you're an American sports personality and you follow American sport, it's a very unusual thing to have an American tennis player in the semi-finals at Wimbledon. Because the last time an American man actually won Wimbledon?
No.
2003.
Well, look at that.
So 14 years ago. I believe it was probably Andy Roddick. 2003.
But I just thought it was very odd of you to be talking to our Formula One expert.
Well, you see, the world is not full of...
switch it onto tennis.
Well, because the world is not full
Did you not feel a bit of a fool when you said, well, I don't follow tennis?
No, not at all.
Are you sure?
No. Why would I ever feel a fool asking a question?
Well,
see, the trouble with you is you think that nobody feels that you are a fool at all times. But in fact, you almost always are.
No.
You are.
No, you see, that's a very aggressive response.
No, it's not an aggressive response.
To me, just trying to help you, to just get your head together.
No, my head is absolutely fine.
Are you sure?
I don't believe in buttonholing people and putting people into a box.
But he said that he didn't know anything about tennis.
Well, he did after I asked him.
So why didn't you research the subject to make sure that he was going to...
Because we're having a conversation.
Be able to know something about tennis.
Well, we're having a conversation.
Having a conversation?
Yeah. Do you know what conversation is? It's when two or more people actually exchange ideas and talk around things, as opposed to a mono monologue, which is what you specialise in.
No, I don't.
Where you talk and talk and talk and talk till everybody falls asleep.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Would you like to talk about something else?
Yes, I will in a minute. I've got some good things to talk to you about. Yeah.
All right. This is Talk Sport.
Here we come, walking down the street. We get the funniest looks from everyone we meet. Hey, we're the monkeys, and people say we're monkeying around, but we're too busy singing to put anybody down. We go where we want to, do what we like to do. We don't have time to get restless, there's always something new.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. You might remember that. Hey, we're the Monkeys.
Did I do a version of it?
You did. That's what we're playing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't
You wanna
hear
some more of it?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Didn't hear yourself?
Yeah.
We might have to go back to the beginning. I have to go back to the beginning.
Well,
hey. You didn't hear yourself? Hey.
Oh, I thought it was needle jumping on the record. To be honest. Yeah.
No.
But anyway, I've heard that then. Thank you very much indeed.
No problem at all.
Why are we playing it?
Well, we were talking about monkeys. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
We were
sounds
talking
pretty
about the
good.
monkey's
Sounds pretty
selfie.
good.
Have you forgotten? We were talking about the monkey selfie like 15 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah, of course we were. Yeah, sorry, that's right. Yeah,
Nobody knows which monkey it was now.
But when I hear that record, all I think in my head is Davy Jones,
Yeah.
the little lead singer who wanted to be a jockey.
See, I was thinking Mickey DeLenz when I think of the monkeys.
I was thinking of Davy Jones. He
Or
was the
even
only
Peter
Brit.
Talk.
He was only the,
Yeah, I know that.
And he wanted to be a jockey, but he wasn't very good. He won one race.
Well, that's all right, isn't it? Well, there's a lot of jockeys that don't win any races.
Well, that's true, as an apprentice. And then he went to Hollywood, and of course he became one of the most famous men in the world.
Yes.
Which is quite a good, quite a good achievement, I would think.
It's not bad, is it?
Yeah. Now, listen, what do you think is because, we've worked in America and all that kind of stuff, what do you think is the biggest company in the world?
The biggest company in the world? Well, I suppose now you'd have to say it might be Microsoft or Apple or one of those.
Yeah, that's right. We always said Apple, didn't we? Or then Microsoft.
I mean, it used to be Coca-Cola used to be always up there
Coca-Cola,
somewhere.
yeah. Do you know what the biggest company in the world now is?
What is it?
It's the Saudi Arabian national oil company called Saudi Aramco.
Okay, I've heard of Aramco.
And do you know what it's worth?
No.
1.54 trillion.
Trillion. Does that depend on the oil price or not?
Well,
though?
you see, this is what I can't understand.
Yeah.
The Saudis and the people from the Middle East countries are exhibiting lavish wealth on a daily basis. They bring all their cars here in the summer. They've got vast wealth and investments across
where was
Europe.
The Saudis went recently, the King of Saudi Arabia went recently, and they had to take all that stuff. Do you remember? He went on tour, didn't he? He went to some part, was it Singapore or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
And they flew with, these ridiculous sort of amounts of luggage.
That's right, yeah.
All the cars had to be flown there.
Yes, they jumbo jets full of stuff. That's right, yeah. But, you see, I don't understand it because the oil price is half of what it was 4 years ago.
Right.
And yet it doesn't seem to have depleted the wealth and the influence and the strategic world power of the Middle East in any way at all.
Well, one of the reasons I think I'm right in saying that they control the oil price and why people like Trump say, well, surely we should be supplying our own energy because we don't want to be, reliant upon foreign oil and all that, is that they then control the flow of it, don't they? If the price goes down, then they make less of it available.
That's right, yeah,
so
they
that the
do.
price doesn't drop as much as it would otherwise.
And apparently one of the reasons why the President Trump made his first overseas visit to Saudi Arabia was twofold. Firstly, to do a deal on how they will use parity between fracking and drilling oil, because one affects the price of the other, and they're going to come to an agreement on it. But the second one was to encourage the Saudis to put the arm on Qatar and its activities in supporting terrorism.
Right.
And
although now Pence has been to see the Qataris to try and do a deal
them they're okay.
with the Saudis.
Yes, that's right.
It's all a bit confusing.
It's all a bit confusing. But I
geopolitics
I
under
just
the
saw
Trump
this
administration.
because once again, we hear so many varying views of what state this country's in, the UK, with Brexit negotiations going on. And business is going to sort of trickle away to other countries. But it says the world's biggest firm may be attracted to London by a proposed rule change making it easier for state-owned companies to float in the UK. Oil giant Saudi Aramco is set to sell around 5% of shares next year. Now, this would be, great business for the London money markets if the Financial Conduct Authority set up a premium listed category.
Yes.
Cities watchdogs would allow Aramco to sidestep the UK rules. New York is thought to be the only other contender for a float, which, if it goes ahead, would value Aramco at £1.54 trillion, nearly 3 times that of Apple, which is currently the world's biggest company.
Yes.
So what they're saying is it's a bit like...
Oh, so they would become the world's biggest company.
They're going to float the country. They're basically going to float the wealth of the country onto the stock exchange.
That's kind of cheating in terms of calling it, the greatest and biggest company in the world. Because it's not just a company, is it?
No,
it is the sort of commercial arm of Saudi Arabia.
It is Saudi Arabia putting the nation's wealth on the stock market so everybody can buy a bit.
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It's exactly the
Are
same.
you going to buy some stock in it then?
Well, I'll have a look and see what my broker tells me.
Do you have a big stock portfolio?
I have some.
Do you?
I have some.
You sound like Michael Corleone in front of the in front of the commission.
Yes.
Remember when they were asking him questions?
Yes.
Do you own stock in all these casinos?
That's right.
And he says yes, but I also have stock in AT&T.
Yeah.
And he lists all these American companies.
Yeah, but didn't he then also plead the Sixth Amendment?
The Fifth.
The Fifth Amendment. I have to tell you that.
No,
I have to tell you that.
Yeah, well, but he also was trying to,
that's right.
have his clear my name for which you have besmirched it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah,
great film.
By the way, the missing 12 grand. I didn't have to panic about it at all.
Why is that?
Well, because funny enough, I was with my accountant the other day, and he said, "Oh no," he said, "Don't worry." I said, "Well, I don't know where it is." He said, "It'll be all right." I said, "Why?" He said,
"How will it be all right?"
Well,
how does he know?
Because it's a 5-year bond.
All right.
And when it matures. Somebody will send him a cheque.
Someone will send him a cheque?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
And I said, who will that be? He said, well, you haven't told me any details of where you put it.
Maybe it'll be Aramco.
Eh?
Maybe it'll be Aramco.
Aramco, yeah, be Aramco, yeah.
Well, how do you know that the people that are holding it, though, have got his address?
Because he is the registered owner of it.
Is he?
Yes.
So it's not actually your money?
Of course it's my money.
Well, how's he the registered owner of it?
Because it's like, for instance...
It's like a tax scam, isn't it?
No. When the Inland
Sounds
Revenue want to know what's going on, they don't write to me, they write to him. And
Is that right?
And it's the same arrangement. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting.
Yeah, why is it interesting?
Well, because when the IRS, I was going to say, when the Inland Revenue want to write something to me, they write something to me.
Yeah, they do write something to me, but they send a copy to him.
Oh, I see.
And so I don't do anything about it because I know he's working on it, okay?
Okay.
It's easy.
I don't know why you get so shirty.
I'm not getting shirty.
Yeah.
And then every now and then I get this sort of letter in a brown envelope saying, here's the fee.
I'm looking forward to my weekly email from the pensions regulator.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I now get every week. Please check your inbox.
Yeah.
For
the pensions regulator?
Yeah.
You're not of pensionable age. What are you talking about?
No, but I have to have a pension.
Oh, yeah.
Which is as ordered by the government.
Oh, yeah, right.
Even though I don't want one.
No, I know what you're talking
about.
You know
what I mean?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, because you were going to answer questions on the Open,
yes.
Are you aware of the Scottish Open being on at the moment?
Yes, because it always precedes the Open, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes.
It's being played at Dundonald Links.
Dundonald Links.
And I have to tell you that Rory McIlroy is 9 shots off the lead.
Well, it doesn't surprise me.
After one round.
He didn't even make the cut, did he, in his very embarrassing last tournament,
the leaders,
which he sponsored.
Yeah, the leader is 7 under, from Finland.
So he's 16 shots off the lead.
No, I told you he's 9 shots off the lead.
Oh, I thought you said he was 9 over.
No, he's 9 shots off the lead. He's 2 over.
Right.
But that's a long way back.
That's a long way back.
You
can't make that
Mr.
up.
Ilonen, well, he might, but I mean, it's unlikely. 7 under. Padraig Harrington, 5 under.
Yeah.
Ricky Fowler, also 5 under. Ian Poulter, your man.
Yes.
Who's on the comeback trail ever since the Porky Jinx was lifted.
Definitely.
He's on 5 under as well.
Right.
So, bad news for Rory Gallagher, isn't it? Rory McIlroy.
Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
He, the boy's never recovered from the broken foot scenario, has he? Although he did have a spell of resurgence, won a couple of tournaments, but it's the big ones, isn't it, that he's got to get busy with.
Well, he doesn't need the
mean?
money anymore, does he? I think that's the problem.
Well, don't you think it was a bit unfortunate that he boasted in a tweet that he's worth $200 million?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that really does make people turn around and say,
well it makes,
what do you get up for in the morning?
It's the Lewis Hamilton effect, isn't it? You just think you're getting a bit too big for your boots, matey.
Yes, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Brunton says this, MG talks with the guests, Mike Parry talks at the guests. That's, I think, their take on
I'm
asking me why.
No, what you mean is I'm more forthright and precise with the guests. Than
you normally
you
normally get the names wrong. Never mind being forthright and precise.
Did you, by the way, see? I'm awfully sorry to change the subject like this, but it so touched me.
Did it?
That you see the elephant that got swept 10 miles out to sea and got pulled back by a naval ship?
No, I didn't see that.
The Sri Lankan Navy rescued it. They tied ropes around it and pulled it back, but it went 10 miles out to sea. And I didn't know.
How did it do that, though?
It got caught by a riptide.
Oh, I see.
And
so it was just floating?
It was floating.
I mean, it wasn't swimming.
Well, it was kind of. I mean, as much as an elephant can swim, if an elephant does the doggy paddle, I suppose it would call the elephant paddle, you know what I mean? Or something like that. But it didn't drown. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It was swept out 10 miles to sea.
I suppose they are familiar with water, aren't they?
Well, they're excellent swimmers, apparently.
Really?
Apparently, they like water and all that kind of stuff. And this Sri Lankan Navy ship that was patrolling in the area couldn't believe it when they saw it. And they just attached ropes to it, and they turned around and gently pulled it back.
Wow.
And when it reached the shore, it had solid ground under its feet. It just walked off.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Great story for it to tell its friends.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. There you go.
Because I saw the pictures, I couldn't work out. I thought the ship had hit a sandbank because the elephant's so big. But it was they rescued an elephant that was floating around in the sea.
How the hell did it get out there?
As I say, it was the tide had picked it up.
No, I know, but what was it doing in the shallows?
Well, the elephants
don't go in the sea. We've got to stop. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics, and of course, there will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on.
Yep.
Don't forget the On the Record podcast will be out on Monday as well. That'll be episode 10 of our adventures in America.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're proving very popular, those, you know.
Yeah, they're proving
quite
very popular.
those.
Yeah.
And look out, as we said earlier, for some video content. If you bought the live streaming Two Mics experience, you will be receiving exclusively some stuff that we filmed last night in a very interesting little Soho. What would you call it? Little sort of production unit.
Well, it wasn't so little actually. It was quite quite a big complex of production, post-production.
It's called
stuff.
Envy, wasn't it?
Called Envy, yeah. Envy,
E-N-V-Y, yeah.
Yeah, E-N-V-Y. Yeah, it was, yeah. Now listen,
I'm listening.
The cancellation of the Porky quiz.
Yes,
very serious matter.
It is a serious matter
to our listeners.
It's the first time it's ever happened.
It is. To the millions of our listeners around the world, this is like the Wimbledon men's final being postponed on Sunday and not played until Tuesday.
What was that?
It's as serious to our millions of listeners around the world as the Wimbledon men's final being postponed on Sunday and not played till Tuesday.
Well, you say that, but I blame it on the fact that we have rather an erratic schedule at the moment, because last weekend, if you remember, we were doing a late sort of Friday show.
Yes.
And we did the Porky quiz on that show.
We did.
And which we're not doing that particular show this Friday.
Yeah, I think these guys just haven't got their act together.
Well, I think they're very confused by it.
Feigning this illness and all that kind of stuff.
There's no feigning illness. Absolutely no feigning of any illness. And I'm sure that the quizmasters will be more than happy to explain how this has all happened. I'm not even certain there is an illness. Maybe they just haven't enough time to prepare. There's some kind of problem. I'm not entirely sure what it is. What I can tell you is that it will not be the same as the problems currently being anticipated by the former Anheuser-Busch chief executive officer, who's a guy called August Bush. August Bush the Fourth, actually. I don't know whether it sounds like what's your guy's name? Scoop Bornhooter.
No, Skip Bornhooter.
Skip Bornhooter.
Yeah.
The former Anheuser-Busch CEO, I spotted this story the other day, is under investigation after appearing too intoxicated to take off hours after a helicopter landed in an office park near St. Louis.
I saw this.
He was a guy who was
something like 5 times the legal limit of what you're supposed to be in terms of intoxication.
Yeah, the police are in a place called Swansea, Illinois.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of you and your famous trips out in a helicopter and being taught how to fly a helicopter.
Yes, that's right.
Seconds after leaving the pub.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Listen, I found out more information about this elephant. Guess why elephants don't drown at sea?
I don't know.
They
wear a life belt.
No, they use their trunk as a snorkel.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't stop you drowning, does it?
Yeah, it does.
How?
Well, if the pictures I saw, the naval pictures I saw, I thought to myself, how on earth did that poor elephant survive? Because, well, what's your problem?
Well, because, I mean, it's not as if they're using their trunk as a snorkel.
They are.
It's part of their body.
No.
So they don't have to use it as a snorkel, they just have to breathe through it.
So when I saw the pictures, I was distressed because I thought that poor elephant obviously
Was
drowned.
it lying on its back?
No, it's his legs are pointing down to the bottom of the ocean, and he is literally immersed in the water.
Literally.
But all you can see is water flapping around.
Can you see his eyes?
No, you can't. His eyes are below water.
Really?
So I'm thinking, how on earth does the elephant survive?
Yeah.
And he survives by turning his trunk upwards.
Yeah.
Like if you
but you can't see, though. If his eyes are underwater.
Well, I don't know if elephants can see in water. Human beings can see in water, so why shouldn't
No,
elephants?
but your eyes sting unless you've got a goggle, you've just got a mask.
Yeah, well, I mean, lots of people open their eyes underwater. But anyway, the point I'm making is that when an elephant turns its snorkel, turns its trunk up, it becomes a snorkel, and it could survive.
No.
It could survive for 3 weeks.
I know what you're saying.
In the ocean.
I know what you're saying.
Because it's got an air supply from its. Imagine.
Or it could just lie on its back, couldn't it?
No, don't be ridiculous.
Why not?
Well, how does an elephant lie on its back with its huge legs above it?
Well, why wouldn't it?
Well, because it wouldn't, and it wouldn't float.
I mean, you seem very certain about that.
Well, I'm very certain about it because I know what I'm talking about. Now, imagine if you were being chased, in the 17th century, kidnap style, by, Scottish, Scottish.
Why would I be?
Well, because they, for some unknown reason, they're after you. And what you would do is you would dive into the river.
Yes.
Snap off a reed. And then
You've been watching too many films.
Yeah, I have, yeah. And lie under the
water. You've seen
water.
James Bond do that, haven't you?
James Bond did it.
James Bond did that.
But who else did it?
Tarzan's done it, I think.
Tarzan's done it. Didn't the guy...
William Tell.
No, William.
We talked about him last night.
No, William Tell hasn't done it. But what I'm saying is, it's quite a famous way to. Wasn't it in?
But it's in a lot of films. People do it in films.
Isn't it in a Vietnam film?
Possibly, yeah.
Deer Hunter or Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, maybe Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, I think it is.
When he comes out of the mud.
That's it.
Almost, or something like that.
But I knew I was on the right track.
Yeah, but again, it's all your knowledge is purely based on film and fictitious scenarios.
There's nothing fictitious about an elephant using its trunk as a snorkel.
No,
that actually happened.
No, actually
happened. That's what kept the elephant alive.
It used its trunk as a trunk, actually.
No, it used it as a snorkel.
Didn't use it as a snorkel
to get air into its body.
Did it have a ping pong ball at the end?
Don't be ridiculous.
Have you seen those old snorkels that they've got the ping pong ball at the end?
Yeah, I've used one.
Yeah, I mean, you don't buy them now. I mean, now you just get ones which go straight up.
Why don't they put the?
I don't know.
Did the ping pong ball give you a few seconds of air locked into it?
Well, I think the point of the ping pong ball was that if you sucked in, you could suck the ping pong ball right up to the top, and then you could go underwater, and the water wouldn't come in.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
I presume
it didn't actually give you an oxygen supply.
What, the ping pong ball? How would it do that?
Well, because I thought it would trap air in that, the funnel of the pipe. You see what I mean? Between the edge of the pipe and your face.
No,
I don't understand. I don't understand snorkeling.
Yeah, but you told me you understand electric cars.
No.
You don't understand snorkeling.
No, because if you put a mask on with a pipe in it, right?
Yeah.
So is the only purpose of a snorkel to lie flat out on the surface of the water and stare down at the ocean below? Because the minute you go down and you take your snorkel mask with you, water's going to flow into the pipe in the snorkel, isn't it?
That's what the ping pong ball was for. So
exactly.
If you wanted to stop the water coming in, you would take a deep breath and pull with the force of the air, force the ping pong ball up to the top of the snorkel. Yeah. So that would act as a sort of a seal.
That's what I mean, like a valve.
But that's why now they don't bother with that. Yeah. Because all that happens now is you take the snorkel out of your mouth and you want to dive, and it doesn't matter.
Doesn't make any sense.
But basically, snorkeling is all about just looking at relatively shallow water.
Yeah, I suppose it is. Yeah,
which is very enjoyable.
Now, talking about snorkeling, of course.
You've seen the time.
Yeah, don't worry about the time too much. Right. Snorkeling is done a lot in Australia.
It's done all over the world.
Yeah, that's right. Now, what a pity we don't have our resident Australian correspondent available to us, Sandra, because she's on a world tour.
She was in Helsinki the last time I spotted her, but I think she's going to be hitting New York pretty soon.
Yeah, I think she is. Because guess what? An amazing story from Australia. A woman was thrown to her death after being caught in the blast behind a Boeing 737 as it took off.
Is this like the exhaust or something of the jet?
Do you know what happened? I don't know why it's been reported from Sydney, but it happened on St Martin in the Caribbean.
Say it was somewhere in the Caribbean, wasn't it?
Well, I've been there. I've seen planes land there.
Yeah.
Is
that where they take the pictures of the planes coming in really low?
Across the beach.
And it looks massive, giant.
And that's exactly what happened here. Yeah. Maho Beach is just metres from the airport.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was on St Martin for the very famous story about Rudolf Nureyev being brought from Paris in his last days of life. And he was brought to St Martin and then flown on from St Martin to St Bart's.
And imagine the final ignominy, waking up and seeing you standing there.
Yeah, that's right.
Ready to get this final interview.
That's right. The 57-year-old tourist from New Zealand suffered a head injury when she was thrown onto the concrete by the blast of the jet engine of a plane bound for Trinidad just after it took off.
Right.
She died a short time later. That's a terrible story.
Dear me.
Yeah.
Terrible situation.
But it happened to, the reason it's been reported from Sydney, it happened to a lady from New Zealand.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible thing.
Very shame. Very shambolic. How about this from Becky? If Porky wants his stocks and shares held overseas, I'm quite happy to hold them in my name and dividends in my bank account.
Oh, right, okay.
Just in case you need somebody else to sort of, fox the tax man.
Trying to fool me into confessions
And
there.
Peter says, a 10-mile round trip for the elephant. Fortunately, they come equipped with their own snorkel.
Yeah, they do. That's absolutely right. They do, in the form of their trunk.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
Basardes says, anything Porky invests in has the potential to be another Ratner's.
Another Ratner's, yeah. Well, he made a bit of a mistake, didn't he?
He certainly did. He's still regretting that one.
He certainly is.
This is Talk Sport.
Oh, Gerald.
Desert Island Discs.
How did you know that?
Well, because I know the song, I know the
Really?
music.
Do you?
I used
Well,
to
I
listen
didn't.
to it all the time.
Oh, really?
Well, my mother was
Yeah.
a constant listener to what was the home service.
Right.
Later Radio 4.
Right, okay.
So I grew up on a diet of the Archers,
I see.
Thought for the Day,
Yeah.
the Today programme.
Yes.
Desert Island Discs with
Right.
Roy Plumley.
Roy Plumley, yeah, that's right, for years.
For years and years, yeah.
Well, the reason we're playing that is more recently, post Roy Plumley, rest in peace. I
Yes.
suppose he's dead, is he?
I presume he is, I don't know.
Must be, yeah.
I'm not sure.
It was then taken over by Sue Lawley for many,
She
many
did it for
years.
a while, yeah.
And
Great
she's...
story about her that we can't tell.
Yeah, there is, absolutely, yeah.
We can't go there.
No, we can't go there. But she is a very respectable woman, and she's 71 today.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
I wouldn't imagine Sue Lawley at 71.
And is it Kirsty Young that does it now, isn't it?
Kirsty Young does it now, yeah. Sue Lawley was known to have, like, a very fine pair of legs, wasn't
What?
she? Sue Lawley.
Very fine pair of legs.
Yes, that's what people used to say about her.
Really? I would have said that
Very
about her.
shapely legs, yes.
That was a bit sexist.
No, it's not. There's nothing sexist about paying a woman a compliment, I'm sorry.
Well,
but, I mean,
I'm
that's
sorry,
what she
well,
was
Roy
known for.
Plumley's legs. You didn't comment on his legs.
Because men don't show their legs. They
Well,
just...
that doesn't mean that you can't be talking about them. You can't go around talking about women's legs
Well, look...
without sounding sexist.
Well, I do not believe it's sexist to say a woman's got a nice pair of legs.
Right.
There's nothing sexist
what
about
would you
that.
say is sexist? Which part of the body could you not compliment her on?
Well, I'm not getting into that, you see, because you're trying to find sexism where it doesn't exist. And
No.
It doesn't exist when you say, oh, she's got a nice pair of legs. What's wrong with that?
Well, because it's sexist.
Well, you think it's sexist, I don't. So,
Well, it's
I
not
just take any
me that-
notice of you.
It's not just me that thinks it. It
No.
just is.
No, it's not. It's not. And many a woman is very happy to be complimented on the way they look. And it's only the old
Okay.
PC brigade who jump on all these bandwagons
I
and
see.
say, you can't say that, you can't say that, you can't say that. I can say what I want, okay? And I'm not being offensive
I'm not
because
saying
I
you
have
can't
huge
say it.
respect for women.
I'm not saying you can't say it. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that if you do say it, you have
Yes.
to be aware that you may be accused of being a sexist.
Yes.
And it doesn't help you.
Yes.
You know.
Now, we're travelling across the Atlantic quite soon, okay?
We certainly are.
And we're going with British Airways because I like flying the flag.
Yes,
okay,
of course.
And that's great. You know, I've always felt
I'm
very
looking forward
proud.
to it.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. Very proud when you land at JFK and see that huge BA terminal.
Yeah.
Now, one of our options was, of course, to seek these new airlines who are doing very, very well.
Yes.
But listen to this.
Right.
You and I have talked about this company and we've praised it. We've said, wow, they get up and go. The rapid expansion of Norwegian, the airline that is promising to bring a revolution to budget fares on transatlantic routes, is hitting the carrier hard as its latest half-year results revealed a sharp dive into the red. The unexpectedly large losses of...
what, Norwegian's not doing well?
listen, the unexpectedly large losses of £92 million
Yeah.
sent shares in its Oslo-listed parent company, Norwegian Air Shuttle, to a 4.5-year low, down nearly 15% on the session.
Blimey.
This time last year, Norwegian posted profits of, I'm working this out from Krona, of about 75 million.
Yes. Well, you know what's interesting is that there is such a thing as expanding too quickly, isn't there?
This is what they're saying.
And
They're
you
saying
can,
that,
and you can, you can make that mistake.
yeah, they are saying it's got a fleet of Boeing aircraft on order it might not be able to pay for. This is a report, by the way. in the Thunderer tomorrow,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and it's a very respected business newspaper. But it says Norwegian's expanding rapidly. By the end of this year, the delivery programme will swell the airline's fleet to 144 aircraft. That's a lot of aeroplanes when you think about it.
And it's not a business. I mean, when
No.
you listen to the guy that owns Ryanair talking,
Yeah.
you know, Michael O'Leary, is it?
Yes.
You know, the amounts of money involved in having to just move planes around the world.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Without anybody on them.
Yeah.
And you can't afford to do that because they have to be full at all times. I mean, it's an incredibly expensive business.
It's an incredibly expensive business, but if you get the equation right, it's an incredibly profitable
It can
business
be.
as well. But, I mean, you know, they buy fuel like 2
Yeah.
years in advance
Yeah, I was
and all
gonna
that,
say
and all
exactly
that, and all
that,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff. And
Right.
they have to get all that right, you know, and make sure it's doing its job.
But can
Okay?
you imagine sort of... I often imagine people that run airlines having, you know, like a big board, a bit like those old war films where
Yeah.
you've got people sort of pushing, you know, things around a
Yes,
board.
yes.
Because you've got to get a plane from, I don't know, San Francisco.
Yeah, you're talking about the women in the bunker during the Second World War moving the planes around.
Yeah,
yes.
well, or the ships or whatever, because you've got to get a
Yeah.
plane from San Francisco somehow to Japan to make sure that it makes the flight back to Bombay.
Yes.
I mean, it's very complicated.
Yes, that's right.
It's almost too complicated to think about.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And the other thing is I found out, actually, because you're going on holiday soon. I was thinking of going on, you know, away somewhere. So
Yeah.
I started looking at the fluctuation in the price of seats on
Yeah,
airlines
right.
at certain times of the year.
Ah.
So, like, you're going to get stung because you're going away in the school holidays.
We always do. And in
Yeah.
fact, I mean, every year we have the same conversation.
Yeah.
Is it worth taking the kids out of school?
Yes.
And unfortunately, from the financial perspective,
Mm.
I always say, well, actually, I don't think it is, especially now that one of them is in secondary school. You
Yeah.
can't really take them out of school
No.
for 2 weeks. They
No.
miss too much, you know?
Yeah, they miss
But
too
the
much.
price is half.
The price is half. Now, the other thing is that depending on certain months of the year, times of the year, whatever,
Yeah.
or just on the expectancy of bookings, seats across the Atlantic, for instance, can range from like 300 quid
Yeah.
to £700. And I'm talking about, you know, standard economy.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on Expedia, for example, right now,
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
which is technically a bucket shop place to get tickets. I mean, I've done it before, and you've had to search and search and search and search, and sometimes it's ludicrous. Like you'll get a fee of something like £1,000
Yeah.
to go to New York via Dublin.
That's right.
And you kind of go, if that's the first one you see and you book it, then you're mad.
Yes, that's right,
You know,
yeah.
some of you have to fly to Paris to get a flight from there.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes, as you say, I mean, there can be as much disparity as from 300 even up to 1,500.
That's right. Somebody explained to me that it's like playing the money markets. You know, you have to watch what the demand is compared to the supply.
Yeah.
You have to, you know, for instance, you know, when all these people in the Middle East go to Mecca
Yeah.
for that once a year
Yes.
fantastic event, millions of people go there.
Yeah.
That affects airline prices all around the world.
Does it? Yeah.
Because what happens is all the people who want to go to Mecca have
Yeah.
to be catered for, mostly from Asia and the Middle East.
Yeah.
And planes that are on lease hire
Yeah.
are then all sucked into the Middle East,
Yeah.
which means that there are not enough planes then going across the Atlantic.
Right.
And then
Well, we saw recently that people and planes and crew from Qatar Airways
Yes.
were sort of sucked over into Britain.
That's right.
To operate British Airways when they had a problem with their flight crew.
That is absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. So, you know, we need to know these things
Yeah.
because we have to inform our audience about the way these variations can help or hinder them.
Yeah.
Because that's what most interests us.
Yeah,
Okay?
and I'm sure there are people who do all sorts of research into these things so that they know, for example, when there's a World Cup,
Yep.
maybe all the Olympics or something like that.
that's true.
You know, that also shifts everything around, doesn't it?
Yeah, so, I mean, everyone's going to be shifting off to Russia this time next year.
Are we going to Russia?
We're going to Russia.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we are going to Russia, yeah, no problem at all.
Because, of course, I haven't been there before.
Yes, that's right. That's right, yeah. No, you'll find it a fascinating country, believe me.
Yes.
But you won't have had the opportunity to have gone there before the wall came down, as I did. And I
No.
feel very privileged
Yes.
to have been one of the few people in the Western world who, you know, got into Russia, went around Moscow, went to good restaurants in Moscow
Yeah.
where the KGB used to go. 'cause they're
Right,
the
where
only
nobody else could go.
I used to stay in a hotel because of Peter Hitchens being a Western correspondent
Yeah.
and having, you know, connections at the British Embassy and therefore with the Russian authorities. I used to stay in a hotel called the New October.
Right.
And it was called the New October because October was the revolution, of course.
Yes.
You know, like the submarine that went
The Hunt
missing.
for Red October.
Hunt for Red October,
Yes.
that's right. Everything that's patriotic is called October in
Right.
Russia. And I stayed in the New October and it was a wonderful sort of, 4 or 5 star class hotel in Western terms.
Yeah.
But it was unlike any other hotel in Moscow. The rest of them were like welfare hotels on 6th Avenue in New York. You know what I mean?
Soap and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Remarkable.
Not that I'd have ever stayed at one of those.
No, of course not.
Somebody told me about it.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Squirrel says this: St. Martin's a very cool place. I think it's half Dutch, half French, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's spelt Maartens in the Dutch fashion, not Saint Martin in the Martins French fashion.
Indeed.
You're absolutely right.
Kevin says, is Mike Parry trying to impersonate Ray Wilkins with the birthday shout-outs? Have a great life. Because Ray Wilkins famously said that to somebody.
Did he?
At the end of an interview, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
made
that.
clips of the week. Where, it was him and Alan Brazil were talking to somebody.
Yes.
And by just, sometimes you come out with something, you can't explain why you said it.
Yes.
And as they were saying, thanks very much indeed for talking to us, Ray said, have a great life.
But was he saying it sarcastically to somebody who'd criticised him?
No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
I see.
I think he was just saying it because it kind of was something that he said, but he probably would have rather he didn't say.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what?
Okay.
And Lee says, I suppose MG wants electric aeroplanes as well. Well, there probably
Yeah, I
are a
suppose
few
you do,
electric
yeah.
aeroplanes. It's not that I want electric cars.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that since they are now manufacturing electric cars, I don't think there's any harm in having one.
Yes.
I don't think there's any harm in encouraging people to drive them.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that I want an electric car.
No.
But that's the way the world is going.
This is the way
so
the
you
world
have
is.
to be, able to move with the times.
Yeah, well, it'll all end up in another disaster.
It won't.
It will.
You see,
Wasted resources.
You're such a pessimist.
Overcharging, overpricing. It does my.
You're such a pessimist. You
does my
always see,
goat in. It really
you
does.
always see, what is going to be terrible rather than what is going to be great.
Yeah, well, as I've said to you before, you can see over the garden hedge. I can see over the Himalayas, all
Is
right?
that right?
Yeah, I see what's coming. Don't you worry about that.
Andy says, I'm not worried. Andy says, time for slapping on the literally absorber again. Nip it in the bud, MG.
Yeah, I've noticed...
You've noticed you've been saying it literally.
Yeah, I said it twice tonight, and don't worry, I'm well aware of it. I'm completely in control of my own tongue.
Really?
And it will be banished. Okay?
Well, shall we banish it?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Andy says, Lewis Hamilton is both a magnificent driver and an enormous idiot. He used a different word. I can still only wish him well, despite his hissy fits.
Yeah, well...
Speaking of which, by the way, we haven't spoken about it much.
Yeah.
Did you watch Johanna Conte yesterday?
No, I didn't, I'm afraid.
Why not?
Well, I was busy. I had lots to do yesterday. It was a very, very busy day yesterday.
Was it?
I can't believe it. I had to go and see the chiropractor.
Yeah.
I had to deal with...
How is the sciatica coming along?
It's coming along very well. I'm very pleased with the man who's looking after me. Thanks.
Really?
Yeah, he's doing a good job.
Oh, very happy.
And issues ranging from... the detail of our trip to New York, which you have to sort out.
Yes.
Details ranging with an offer to get involved in opening some pubs.
Oh, yeah.
Which you and I have been approached about.
Yeah.
Which, is not one of the jobs that I often turn down.
No.
Yeah.
Well, since you're in them anyway, you might as well open them.
Yeah,
I'd take that view.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Well, you certainly closed a few.
well, no. I have a policy that it's okay to open pubs because one day I might need it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So what's the point of not opening them?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we'll let people know about that because that could be a very exciting opportunity come next week.
Indeed.
We shall see.
Yes.
Coming up next, though, we're going to do listography on our 3 favourite landmarks
That's
in
right.
Britain. This
That's
is
right.
Talk Sport.
Dirty old river, must you keep rolling, flowing into the night? People so busy, make me feel dizzy. Taxi lights shine so bright, but I don't.
That, of course, is the Kinks.
Yeah.
That is, of course, Waterloo Sunset.
And who was the singer?
It was Ray Davis,
No, it wasn't.
wasn't it?
It was Sir Ray Davis.
Well, it's Ray Davis.
He's been knighted. It's Sir
I
Ray
don't care.
Davis. We'll
Well,
give
when
his
he
proper
sang
title.
it, when he sang it, he was Ray Davis.
Well, he's Sir
You
Ray
wanna be
Davis now.
pedantic.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway,
Right, yeah.
Now, we were normally at this point in time
Yes.
supposed to be introducing the Porky Quiz because that's what normally happens at 3:30 on a Friday morning.
That's right.
However,
Yeah.
due to circumstances beyond our control,
Beyond our control.
we were not able to bring you the Porky
We were
Quiz because of some nefarious activity
Yes.
from somewhere.
Yes.
We're not quite sure where.
No.
But we have apparently received a message from the independent Quizmasters.
Oh, right, good.
So let's have a listen to it.
The Quizmasters were incorrectly informed of the 2 mic schedule. Normal service shall resume. The Porky Quiz will take place under during the warm-up. There is not, nor has there ever been, any gerrymandering.
That's very good.
Is that the message?
Yeah, well, that's the message.
Yeah, but you see, that to me sounds like a gerrymandered message.
Why?
By mentioning gerrymandering.
Why?
It does to
So
me.
listen to it again.
Yeah.
The quizmasters were incorrectly informed of the 2 mic schedule. Normal service shall resume. The Porky Quiz will take place under during the warm-up. There is not, nor has there ever been, any gerrymandering. There is not, nor has there ever been, any gerrymandering.
That's very good,
Gerrymandering.
Yeah.
Gerrymandering.
Stephen Hawking.
Gerrymandering. Gerrymandering.
They knew that I was on top form for this one because
Well-
I was bursting to get that quiz.
Well, listen, if you're on top
up on
form
air,
today,
yeah.
no reason why you won't be on top form on Sunday.
Well, yeah,
for the warm-up.
except that they're waiting 2 days to regrade the questions to difficulty level
I just think it's exciting to have
higher
heard
and
from
higher.
them.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting to have heard from them for
Yeah.
the first time.
Yeah.
Now you know what they sound like.
So what are we doing into place?
We are now doing listography, right?
Okay.
And listography
Yeah.
will include
Yeah.
3 of your favourite landmarks in
Yes.
Britain.
Yes.
With hopefully a little story as to why.
Okay, fine.
So would you like to fire away?
I'll fire away.
Number 1.
Number 1, Windsor Castle.
Okay.
First time I came back from America after a sustained stint there of about 2.5 years without coming back.
Yeah.
And the plane came down, as it does, over the UK. And I had a window seat, which I don't always insist on, because I like an aisle seat, actually, because I like to be able to get up and stretch and that kind of stuff, you know. And the clouds broke, and below me was Windsor Castle.
Yes.
The most magnificent
Runnymede
spectacle.
and all that.
Runnymede,
Yeah.
the River Thames, Windsor Racecourse.
Yeah.
It was all there, right below me, but I was looking down onto the turrets.
Yeah.
You know, it seemed to be that close.
Yes.
And I thought, excuse me, because Windsor Castle is like a medieval playground,
Yeah.
if you see what I mean. I thought, wow, my Britain, you know?
Yes.
And I've always loved it ever since. And since then, you and I have been to a night meeting at the Windsor Races.
We have.
And we've been close up to Windsor Castle.
Yeah.
This is a magnificent building.
Yes.
I mean, one of the great buildings of the
I
world.
was there the night it burned. It went on fire.
You were there the
Yeah.
night it went on fire, absolutely right. And every time, you know, I see it from a distance, maybe I'm on the motorway,
Yeah.
or again, flying in or out of Heathrow, it makes my heart sing.
Yes, it's a very good choice.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for one which is slightly maybe unusual.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Bath Abbey.
Okay.
Bath Abbey, which is one of the most beautiful abbeys in the country. It's situated in one of the most beautiful cities in the country. Happens to be where I went to university. Happens to have a lot of memories for me. It was where I first met my my first wife as well. Even though she subsequently threw the wedding ring into the weir. At Bath, because it was a symbolic gesture on her part.
Right.
But it's a beautiful,
That's
beautiful
a pretty
church.
nutty thing to do, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that wasn't one of the only nutty things she did. Anyway, it's a very beautiful church. I don't know if you've ever been inside it.
No, I haven't, no.
But it's got what they call the flying buttresses.
Right.
Which is an architectural term
Yeah.
for the big sort of stanchions that come out the side of,
Yes.
of a church.
Yes.
It was a particular way of building churches.
Yeah.
And I'm not a church-going person.
No.
But I quite like to go inside churches and look
Oh,
at
yeah,
the,
I do as well.
And look at the stained glass windows.
Yeah, I do.
Look at the architecture.
I
sort
do.
of breathe in the history and all of that. Because I think one of the first kings of England was crowned there. I'm pretty sure it was Ethelred the Unready.
Right.
Just on the very site that the abbey was built on.
Right, okay.
Around the corner from there
Yes.
is the grounds of an old monastery. And there's a pub called the Crystal Palace.
Right.
Which is said to be haunted.
Yes.
Because it sits above the graveyard of the old monastery.
Right, okay.
So it's a fascinating city. And of course, it's got the
Yeah.
Roman baths and all
Yes,
that.
yes.
So I'm going to have that as my first landmark.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Now, my second is the Tyne Bridge.
Okay.
I love the Tyne Bridge.
Yes.
I like going to Newcastle on the train. It's a speedy journey. Get a first class seat.
Yeah.
Get yourself a bottle of grog, and watch the countryside whizzing by, and then. Get further and further north, obviously, and then the train slows down.
Yeah.
And it comes around a curve, and if you're in the right part of the train, which I usually am,
Yeah.
the curvature of the train gives you the view of the Tyne Bridge. Now, contrary to popular legend,
Yeah.
the train doesn't go over the Tyne Bridge.
You
The
just see it.
Yeah, the Tyne Bridge is a road bridge,
Yeah.
so you can see it coming up, but then you're not immersed by it. You actually pass over High Level, which is a bridge a railway bridge next to the Tyne Bridge,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so you see it in all its glory. And you see all the way down the Thames.
Yeah.
You see what they call the Blinking Eye Bridge, which is the one that tilts, you know, and opens.
Yeah.
And I've always had a great love and admiration of the northeast of England.
Yeah.
Ever since I worked there as a reporter on the Evening Chronicle,
Yeah.
I love the people, their attitude to life, the city itself, Newcastle, its heritage, and Northumberland itself. And I really feel I'm arriving somewhere where, you know, life is really very pleasant indeed.
And it is a great
to
landmark,
speak.
isn't it? Because if you are on a journey north or south,
absolutely,
you get there and you go, oh, I know where I am now.
That's right.
You know, you can look out the window.
It's the Tyne Bridge.
In lots of other places, if you say been asleep on the train.
That's right.
And you're not always sure where you
No,
are.
no, but
you look out that window and you see that, you know you are.
Newcastle is such a unique town because it's 100 miles from nowhere, really.
Yeah.
And when you get there,
Well,
you're
it's
in...
closer to Scotland than it is anywhere else, isn't it?
That's right. And you're in Geordieland, and Geordieland, I think, is special.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to go for somewhere in Scotland that wasn't actually this place, but because of the bridge scenario, I'm going to go the Forth Bridge.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a beautiful estuary there. You know, the Firth of Forth, as they call it.
Yeah.
There's obviously the Forth Railway Bridge, which is just the Forth Bridge, which is iconic in its own.
Yes.
You know, everybody knows the story of, you know, they start painting it at one end, and by the time they finish, they have to start all over again.
Yeah.
I lived there for a long time, a few years, in a place called Linlithgow. So I would drive past it pretty much every day to go to work, get into Edinburgh. They're now building a third crossing, because the road bridge was closed for so long. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do.
So there's a third crossing, which I haven't seen. But it's a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah.
It's the gateway to Fife as well,
Right.
and the northeast part of Scotland, which is an interesting part of the world as
Yes,
well.
indeed.
Beautiful east coast. It's a gateway to Edinburgh, gateway to all sorts of beautiful golf courses like North Berwick.
Yep.
St Andrews on the other side, and it's just a wonderful, lovely part of the world. I have a lot of happy memories there.
A lot of happy memories.
Yes.
That's very good indeed.
Right.
So anyway, my third one.
Yeah.
Now, self-indulgently,
Yeah.
I was going to say Goodison Park because it's going to be knocked down soon anyway, and that. But that is too self-indulgent, okay?
Yes.
So I'm not going to nominate Goodison Park because, look, that's too personal to me. I'm an Everton fan, and the millions of our listeners who tune in are not all Everton fans.
No.
So my third one, now, funny enough, you chose a church for your first one.
Yes.
Well, mine would be Chester Cathedral, my third landmark.
Okay.
Because I grew up with it. You know, when you're a little kid and you're looking up at Chester Cathedral, it's massive.
This is with all the gargoyles that we've talked
All
about
the
before, right?
gargoyles, and it's a magnificent... All churches are magnificent. I have no idea how they built them in the Middle Ages because they didn't have electricity, they didn't have cranes, they didn't have ramps. They basically just had pulleys.
Yeah.
And they had to pull those those stones, which weighed, a ton each, up into hundreds of feet high.
The imagination and the engineering skill
Unbelievable.
to just design them.
Unbelievable.
You know.
Unbelievable. If you read the book that I keep citing as one of my favourite books, The Pillars of the Earth...
Yes.
The reason it's called The Pillars of the Earth is because some of the characters in England went over to France, on the horses, on boats, and galloped through France. And for the first time discovered churches where the windows were supported by a parabola-type shape.
Yes.
So they weren't square.
Right.
And they let more light into they could support greater weights because they had a parabola, that's a curve at the top of the window instead of flat, and that allowed more light to come into the churches. The reason some of our churches in this country are so dark is before we discovered that French technique, the windows were all square.
Yes.
So they had to be smaller because they couldn't support as much weight because the top of the beam would break.
Yeah.
So, and then when I grew up and started going to the King's School Chester Christmas
carols.
Well, not Christmas carols so much, but the end of service, the end of the Michaelmas term service was in the Chester Cathedral. So that was always on about December the 16th or something like that. Yeah. And all the families came and all that. Excuse me, a very joyous occasion. And even though I haven't lived in Chester for 40 years, it's still somewhere which, as I get older, I feel more affection for because I was brought up there. And the one symbol of Chester, which I think is outstanding above all others, and there's lots of symbols in Chester because it's a very historic city, but it has to be Chester Cathedral.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Well, my final one, I suppose, has to be somewhere in London because I was born in London, raised in London, live in London, worked in London for a lot of my life, and it's going to have to be the Shard.
The Shard, okay, it's a very modern one.
Yeah, well, I've got to have a modern one, I think, because the Shard now, whatever way you look at it, dominates the city skyline. You know, if you look from, say, Canary Wharf now into the City of London, there's certain buildings that you can now see. It's almost like a downtown American city now because there's half a dozen or maybe a dozen skyscrapers. And we were talking about this before. They're building more and more and more of them.
We were.
And so the London skyline is always changing. But I think the Shard, because of its very unusual shape, its pointy sort of pyramid style, and the kind of weird-looking top of it, which looks like it's unfinished.
Yes.
And I might not have said that the Shard was my favourite building in London until we went up to the top of it for that Christmas party last year.
That's right.
Which was magnificent. When you see the view,
it was
you look
incredible.
Outside, and I mean, Boris Johnson joked when he was up there, I think, when he was opening the sort of viewing gallery, I think I could see the French, you know,
That's
the sort of thing he would say. But we feel like you could see France because it's so high up.
Yeah.
And it's the highest building in Europe, and it dominates the skyline. I can see it from my apartment down on Rotherhithe, and you can see it from every sort of part of the city. I think it's lovely.
Yeah,
Great
I
addition to our fine city.
I agree. You're absolutely right. And, you know, I live in a constant state of anxiety now that because of the political turmoil this country...
You say this a lot. I'm worried about you.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I'm worried about this anxiety that you've picked up.
Incompetence of successive...
Of the idiot Theresa May.
Well, no, I'm going right back now to Tony Blair, and every Prime Minister since him has just completely knackered this country, you know, with mistake after mistake after mistake, and the economic and cultural dominance we had within Europe I just fear it's going to be eroded.
Yeah.
It's going to be eroded, and things like the Shard will never be built in this country again because people won't have the confidence in the economy and the ability of the British to do it.
Yes.
It worries me greatly.
Yes. So what's your... I mean, you got a last one, or is that it?
No, I've done 3.
Have you done 3?
I've done Chester Cathedral,
Okay.
I did the Tyne Bridge, and I did Windsor Castle.
Oh, okay.
If I was going to do another one, I'd do a modern building.
Yes. We haven't got time for another one.
We haven't got time for another one.
That's why I'm not sure that
And I can't think of a modern building I really admire.
Can you not?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not really.
Well, that's the end of it. That was listography. Those are our 6 favourite landmarks in the country. I think that's a magnificent list, actually.
Yeah, pretty good list.
I'm very proud of that.
Pretty good list.
This is Talk Sport.
Yep. Pyongyang
Star.
Pyongyang.
Pyongyang.
I saw you making a reference earlier in the day to some kind of re-education unit in Pyongyang.
That's right,
Somebody on Twitter.
Who did I threaten to send there?
It was somebody who was moaning about something
Somebody
like
who
that.
disagreed with
Yeah, I
me.
can't
I
remember what
said,
it was.
if you don't shut up, we'll send you to the re-education school.
2 Mike's Re-Education Centre. Pyongyang.
Pyongyang.
Yeah, now, how about this for a weird story, right?
Yeah, go on.
This was passed to me a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
A guy from Texas found himself trapped inside a cash machine. An ATM machine. Do you remember when we talked about the first ATM machine being in Enfield?
That's right.
And then the guy rang in and said, "Oh yeah, my dad was involved in that."
That's right, he was,
And in fact, we didn't actually give any money out for the first few days.
No.
It was just him handing money
right.
to people.
Yes.
This guy was supposed to be working on a renovation of the bank, right? He goes inside the bank, somehow locks himself inside the ATM cash machine, which people were using, liberally. It was a drive-through one. And he was having to park. He'd left his phone outside, but somehow he had a pen and paper.
Right.
And so every time somebody came to take money out, he passed them a note, said, "Can you please help me? I'm stuck in here.
Call the authorities. I'm stuck in this machine."
And of course, for ages, everyone thought this is a hoax. Turn around, looking around for the cameras, filming
Excuse
them.
me.
It must be one of these, Pokes TV shows,
that's
like
right,
Beadle's about.
Yeah.
And eventually he was rescued. But I'm amazed that if you didn't take your phone...
Where did that happen?
It happened in Texas somewhere.
In Texas, I suppose so.
What I'm amazed about is that if you forget your phone or you leave your phone in the car, why would you actually have a pen and paper?
Well, I always carry a pen around with me in my top pocket of my shirt.
I know you do.
I feel naked without a pen because, ideas occur to you all the time. I've got to scribble things down. Yeah. People ring you on your mobile phone. Like, for instance, a lady rang me today, gave me some quotes on something that I was looking to purchase. And, I said... And some, I always say, can you text them to me? Which is obviously the way to do it these days. But if they're ringing you from an office phone,
and
they might not just have access to their mobile to be able to text you or something like that,
Or if you're in, the trouble is if you're in a car, and you're ringing somebody, because I sometimes am calling people in the car, and you can't, if they say to you, can I write something down? I can't write something down because I'm driving.
Of course you can't, no. But anyway, I still think that the power of the pen and paper should not be underestimated, even in our modern society.
It was in Corpus Christi, by the way, this happened.
Corpus Christi, yeah. I think I've been there. I went there for... Yeah, because I remember... Because it's named, of course, after the Cambridge College, isn't it?
Is it?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't know what it's named after.
Yeah, well, look, the guy who founded Corpus Christi in this country then went out there and, spent like, £1 million equivalent in those days setting something up out there to improve the life of the emerging nation, America, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Now
Very
then,
possibly.
I wanted to tell you about Chuck Blazer.
Yeah.
He's died.
Has he?
Yeah, now this was the guy who was the FIFA man, okay? And he became chief whistleblower to inform the authorities of the mass corruption inside FIFA, which led to the hit on FIFA a few years ago when all the FBI turned up in Switzerland and arrested everybody.
He was the guy that gave them all the evidence, wasn't he? He lived in Trump Tower, right?
He lived in 2 apartments in Trump Tower, one of which was given over to his cat.
Right.
Yeah.
Where is the cat now?
Nobody knows.
I wonder if he's left everything to the cat.
No, funny enough, nobody seems to know. Somebody looked after them. But he is described as a Falstaffian figure, unruly of hair and horizontal in his generosity. The long-standing member of FIFA's executive committee, who was, it says here, tracked down by an FBI agent in 2011 and a tax investigator who took him to an interview centre and said, you have 2 choices, Chuck. We can take you in handcuffs now, or you can cooperate.
Right. Has he not? Was when they arrested him,
and he chose to cooperate.
Had they not chased him down the road, and he was on like a mobility scooter?
He was on a mobility scooter
because he was too large to walk.
He was too large to walk. And they had mobility scooters in buildings all over New York. Yeah. So that a car would take him up to sort of one building, and he'd spend an hour or 2 there, and then get his mobility scooter, and then he'd get down to his favourite deli, order a sandwich, and then come back in the mobility scooter.
And the incredible thing is, with all of the evidence and the stuff that we've heard about FIFA, nobody's ever explained how these guys came to be in charge of all of these sectors of the world.
No, that's right.
I mean, Chuck Blazer's qualification for being, the CONCACAF representative of FIFA was what exactly?
Nothing.
I mean, he's not exactly athletic, is he?
He's not athletic. He didn't ever play football.
No.
He's said to be a great administrator. Took $22 million out of the FIFA accounts for himself, okay?
Right.
But then, I mean, he literally turned Queen's evidence, as we'd call it in this country.
Sure.
And not only did he agree to tell everything that he already knew, he agreed then to be an FBI plant in FIFA meetings with recording machines secreted all around his body and picked up all the evidence that later led to the prosecution of other FIFA members.
But that guy Warner is still hiding out in the Caribbean, isn't he?
Jack Warner. I don't think he cares anymore. He said, look, I'm so old and so wealthy, I don't care what they do to me anymore, but I'm not going back to America.
But he's not going back, is he?
That's right,
He's refusing to budge. So actually, the whole thing has come to nothing.
Yeah, exactly,
I mean, yes, they've got rid of a few people, perhaps.
That's right.
And Sepp Blatter has been forced to step aside.
Yes, that's
but,
right.
I mean, you don't get the sense that anything's really changed.
No, nothing's changed at all. To answer your question about, well, how did a guy like this man get into football? He was 30 years of age and had never kicked a ball when soccer appeared on his horizon in 1976. His young son started playing football for a local team in Westchester, which we know pretty well. I've been up to Westchester a few times.
Absolutely.
Standing on the sidelines, Blazer was quickly drawn in. Before long, he'd become the team's coach and was organising the local league. He found he had a talent for mollifying pushy soccer moms, so he became very friendly with the soccer moms, whose sons were not being selected. So using his enormous groaning IBM 5120 computer, which was a very, very basic computer from some 40 years ago, he organised tournaments, playing schedules and fundraising events. He even persuaded Nike to sponsor his son's team. As a result, he was elected to run the US Soccer Federation, and after persuading Pele to campaign for him, he got into terrible debt. Anyway, he flew up to Porto, Spain, where the US were playing Trinidad and Tobago in a World Cup qualifier, and teamed up with a local official called Jack Warner to run as chairman of CONCACAF. He managed Warner's campaign after his election, became general secretary, and moved the HQ from Guatemala City to Trump Tower, New York.
But they were all kind of just cronies of each other,
They were all just cronies of each other.
In the end.
Yeah. And it was amazing that he managed to go bust in the initial years of trying to be a soccer administrator, but somehow got over that and came back. So it's a very murky world.
It's a very murky world, isn't it? We haven't got an awful lot of time, so let me read you a few tweets that we've got got in. One here from Grelch, who says, "Wait till you get driverless cars in London. We have them here in San Francisco, and they operate much like headless chickens." See, that's another thing that you're going to get
I didn't even
soon.
know that they were operating anywhere in the world.
Oh, they are.
I didn't know.
Well, they've been testing them, I believe. Google have been testing driverless cars in San Francisco.
Really?
And I'm pretty sure Uber have been as well. Mm-hmm. Here's one from somebody who's in Oslo. His name is Brendan. He says, "I work in Oslo and electric cars are very common. They're 1 in every 3 and they're allowed to use the bus lanes."
In Oslo?
Yeah.
Driverless cars? I didn't know that they were used.
No, electric cars.
Electric cars,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, yeah. Right, Paula P. here says, "Hi, Porky, lovely to hear you describing my part of the world with so much affection." And then hashtag Northumberland. Well, it's just a natural reaction to having lived there. You know, I do like the way that people in Geordieland adapt to life's problems and celebrate life's successes.
Indeed. Brendan sends a picture of a typical car park in Oslo,
Yeah.
and you can't see it yet, but if you look it up on the 2 mics, you'll see close up a lot of the cars are already plugged into different electric outputs.
I see. Because, funny enough, there's a 2-part message here. It says, by 2018, China wants electric-only cars, and by 2022, the rest of the world wants you to be able to have the choice and a mixture of electric diesel cars. I know this as the car company I work for have told us, and we have limited time to be successful in this. That comes from a chap called James Andrews.
Yes.
So he's basically saying, I think that there's a hidden agenda here to get these cars, get all cars turned to electric by as early as 2022. Which is only 5 years away.
Remember what I told you when we were on Sky that time? That this is going to be happening. And since then, Volvo have now come out and said that they're no longer going to be producing petrol or diesel cars by 2022.
Yes.
The French have said that they will no longer allow petrol or diesel cars to drive in France after 2022. So, I mean, if the manufacturers are moving in that direction, you basically will only be able to buy a vintage petrol or diesel car, and you'll probably have to have your own petrol and diesel to make it run.
I think it's all madness.
Do you?
All utter madness, honestly.
John says, corrects me, says it was King Edgar who was crowned in Bath Abbey in the year 973.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm sure is true, but I'm pretty certain there's a plaque of some kind about Ethelred the Unready as well.
Yeah.
Or one of those Reds, you know?
You know that Ethelred the Unready was a parody title for him. He was, in fact, a very efficient king.
Right.
So, you know,
but did the unready bit mean that he was maybe unready to be given the crown or something?
No, it didn't. It was a parody account. You know, like at school or in the army, when you get a guy who's 4'11", and he's called Lofty.
Lofty, yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
You know, it's a sort of, a comparative sort of thing.
Yeah.
So Ethelred was in fact.
So he should have been actually called Ethelred the Ready.
Yes, he should. He was very
ready for sure.
Ethelready, he would have been a better title. He was very ready all the time.
Was he?
So they used to sort of, use this irony type title for him. Oh, you mean Ethelred the Unready?
Yes.
I.e., he's ready for anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
I didn't know that.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I suspect it might be wrong, though.
No, it's
I'm going to have to look it up now.
It's true.
Okay.
It's like Canute. He never said, I can stop the tide coming in.
No.
He said, I can't stop the tide coming in.
He wasn't trying to.
No.
But a lot of these myths are replaceable, you see, and interchangeable. However, we're out of time. I'll see you tomorrow. This is Talk Sport.